Hey guys, this is Craig. Before this episode gets started, I just wanted to let you know that the audio and video tracking in this show was corrupted during the recording, and there was literally nothing that we can do. I worked intensely with Riverside trying to fix this. There's a great conversation. Don't penalize Mike because of the technical error. You're going to be able to hear the whole thing, listen straight through, but you're just going to have some disconnects on some parts of the audio and the video. So if you could bear with that, I think you're going to enjoy it. I know you're going to enjoy this because it's a great conversation. Mike's got some really cool stories. So I just wanted to give you a heads up about that up front. I apologize. I don't remember the last time, if ever, this happened in close to 950 shows. So, it's one of those things. Thanks for your tolerance and understanding, and enjoy the show. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We got Mike Dimkic with us from Bad Religion. Awesome guy, interesting guy. He's got a lot of outside hobbies that are cool, and he's been through a lot in the business. So before we get started, I just want to thank our mutual friend, Keith Nelson, the living legend, founder of Buck Cherry, awesome producer. So, Keith, thank you so much for hooking us up.
Yes. Hello.
All right. Mike's Cliff Notes. Since 2013, Mike's been the rhythm guitarist with one of the biggest, if not the biggest selling punk rock band ever, Bad Religion. Mike started his career playing in California punk bands. After connecting with Steve Jones from the Sex Pistols, he opened with Steve for the Cult, who then asked Mike to join them as rhythm guitarist in 93, and he was with them for 20 years. He also played on a really cool album by a band called Sucker Punch out on the West Coast. Their self-titled album, and he is a competitive cyclist and a former competitive long-distance runner. This guy is in incredible shape. And I forgot to write this down. You're like a male model for some. I saw you. Aren't you like male modeling for some cyclist clothing?
Well, I'm definitely not female modeling. Oh, okay.
I don't judge.
It was my. Hey man, if it pays, I'll do anything. I have to correct a couple things real quick.
Yes, please.
I definitely was a rhythm guitar player in the Cult, but in Bad Religion, I would say it's 50-50. It's kind of.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can play leads, folks.
Good.
Granted, when I joined the band, Brian quickly gave me all the leads he didn't want to play, which is funny because there are certain nights where I'm just like, God, we're both sort of like, God, I wish there were nights that I could just fucking play the chords and not have to play a lead, so be careful what you wish for, because I was like, shit, yes. I got to do this lead. And it's kind of tricky. Why can't I just play the chords? And I'm a hobbyist cyclist and runner. Like my buddies, I have a bunch of friends who are like Euro pros. And the male modeling thing, there were a pair of twins from Slovakia called the Velets, and they were really, really good, high-end domestiques. And they started a clothing company near the end of their career, and their shit is so much more high end now. But when they first started it was like me and a couple other people they knew model for them, and they, gave me $100 or something. Now their shit looks really like, everyone's tattooed and has a beard and looks cool. But yeah, that was my modeling career.
That was your modeling career, man. All right, you'll take it though. It's all right.
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, I hope I got this right from your bio. So you're originally from LA. And then when your parents split, you moved to Memphis and then to Houston, where your mom remarried. And your stepdad was a cool guy who turned you on to punk rock, and he and your mom took you to loads of concerts. Is that correct? First of all, the backdrop of that?
It's kind of sort of. My father worked for Oscar Mayer, the hot dog company.
Sure.
And we lived in Memphis and we lived in Houston, and then my folks split up. So my mom and I went back to California. I was born in California. So my dad stayed in Houston. And then just by happenstance, when my mom, it was her boyfriend for years and years, but he was like my stepdad. He was from Houston. So it was just kind of odd.
Random.
But they met in LA, and he was like a blues guy. He wasn't a punk guy. My mom was into hip stuff. My mom, was into all the 60s, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and all that, but she also was into Iggy Pop and Bowie. So I some of that trickled down, and he was such a cool guy. I'd be like, hey, I want to, I started borrowing his guitars, and, maybe when I was about 12 or 13, because I realized I wanted to play guitar. And he would help me, figure out he would figure out a Sex Pistol song for me, but he would also talk about, like, oh, this Steve Jones guy, obviously, he's doing Chuck Berry stuff. And I kind of knew who Chuck Berry was, but he pointed me in the direction where the stuff started, which
That's really
is,
cool.
is what you should do. And he was, he lives in Austin, right outside of Austin now. So whenever we go through, he comes down. And I think it's really nice that he gets to see, that his efforts, I've made a life.
Yeah,
out
you
of it.
made really. Yeah, you changed your life really when it comes down to
Yeah,
it.
totally. No, he was
That's
he was a
fantastic.
super cool guy.
Nice story.
Yeah.
That's a very nice story, man. Okay, so what was it about punk rock that resonated so well with you?
I started out liking what I saw on TV. Like there would be reruns of the Monkees, and
Sure.
they were great. I mean, those songs are great. And of course, I liked the Beatles and all that. So I liked all that stuff. But it was, that had been around. I was born in '68. So I'm listening to that, and I loved all the AM radio stuff, man. I mean, I am such a like ABBA, and oh god, and my mom, we drive. She had this horrible. God, it was a Capri. I don't even know who made it. And it had an AM radio. And I remember, you would just listen to Seasons in the Sun and like Fernando.
Terry
by ABBA.
Jacks. Yeah.
I listened to that again, and it's pretty horrible, actually. Like, but I loved it at the time. I was
It was
such
great
a
at
sucker.
the time.
Fernando is still, it's about the Spanish Civil War. That's a fucking deep song. And I remember I
it?
loved, yeah, it is. It's about the Spanish
never knew
Civil
that.
War. No, but my mom was kind of like, how can you stand this, kind of sappy pop? Like I was a sucker for it, man. I loved all that. And I think she didn't dislike it, but I know the Terry Jacks one, I think she thought was pretty,
Crossing the line a little bit on that.
pretty brutal. I mean, it's but I'm a sucker for a fucking sappy pop song.
But how cool is that your mom thought that wasn't a legit enough song? I mean, your mom was pretty cool.
She worked before she met my dad, or maybe she was a school teacher, but I think before she met my dad, she worked for Teen Magazine with, and she interviewed, like she told me about that she, her coworker went to interview the Animals when they first came to America, and she came back in tears because they were so mean to her. Like they were drunk and like totally berated her and were just assholes. And she came back in tears and told my mom, like, they're horrible. They are animals. And like,
wow.
So everyone thinks the Sex Pistols were out of control. My mom was like, the Animals were complete bastards to her.
Wow.
And Rodney Bingenheimer used to hang out, and she was like, oh, he was creepy even then. But he's a great DJ. But they sent her down to Sunset Studios, where we actually recorded the last Bad Religion record, Sunset Sound. And they were like, hey, there's this new LA band, go down and do a thing on them. And she goes, yeah, I walked in and it was like pitch dark, and the singer was doing a vocal, and it was the fucking Doors. So she heard like Jim Morrison's voice coming out of the blackness. And that was pretty outrageous.
Pretty fucking cool. Wow.
Teen Magazine, because they're like Rolling Stone maybe had just started. So that, Teen was as much of a, there were no serious rock magazines. So you would have, the Animals and the Doors and Jimi Hendrix would be in Teen Magazine, because
I did not know that. That's really interesting.
And she actually finished out her career. Like when she died, she was the advice columnist for Teen Magazine.
That is wild, man.
It was pretty funny.
Not to take too much of time on this, but what was did she get any like bizarre letters?
Oh, dude.
I can only imagine.
Because this was the early 90s, like 90, 91. So there was no one was emailing anyone. They were letters, and she would come home with a box of letters. And she got her master's in family therapy, and I think focused on like, I think like the focus was pretty grim. It was like, sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff. But some of the letters would be like, a lot of them would just be like, hey, I really like cows, and my friends make fun of me. And my mom would have to come back with something like, you just tell your friends to like take a leap over the moon, and do some little cow riff.
Sure.
But some of them would be like, I forget what it was, Dear Annie or whatever it was, would be like, hey, my dad comes in my room at night and like,
Oh my
no, dude,
God.
there would be serious shit. And I,
Oh,
I don't, I don't remember what the protocol was back then. Cause this is 35 years ago or whatever. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Is there
I
an
don't,
immediate call placed to that version of DCF or, something like
I
that?
don't know, but I remember seeing
Wow.
some of those and I was like, mom, she's like, yeah, there's once in a while you would get, this total cry for help. And I think you would pass it up a chain somewhere, but yeah, it wasn't all, fun and
Wow.
games.
Yeah. So it just goes to show you people were as fucked up before the internet as they are now.
Oh God.
just
Yeah. I mean,
it's not as easy to get out there. Wow, that's really sad, man. Holy
yeah,
shit.
I remember that one. It was just like, oh geez, mom.
Oh
Like,
God, yeah. That's whew, wow.
I know.
Okay, so what was your childhood like in general growing up?
Um, I mean, my folks split up 71 or so. I was like two or three. Um, I mean, I'll be honest, like that was the first, my mother and her generation, people born in, the early 1940s, mid 1940s. That was the first generation of women who I think like left husbands. They were like, I
Yeah,
can get divorced. I don't have to be, the wife of a regional manager, and I don't know what my dad's a great guy. I mean, we're not super close, but like I can see why they got married, but at the same time I was like, he seemed very straight, my mom was very like arty and wrote, and so I didn't see how they squared up. And I think that she
yeah.
probably what women were sort of expected to do is marry a guy that maybe will settle you
Stand by your
down.
man kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
I think more that she probably wanted something out of life that women couldn't get in the early 60s,
sure.
like a real job, like she got paid shit. I mean, women still get paid shit, but they
Sure.
really got paid like shit then and couldn't, she could write for Teen Magazine, or be a typist. Do you know what I mean? Like there
Right.
weren't.
Meanwhile, with her degree, she's way capable of much more
Yeah, yeah,
intellectually and performance-wise. Yeah.
exactly. And I definitely don't think she was cut out to be a housewife who didn't do anything. Like I
Yeah.
and I think she probably suffered from depression and didn't know it at the time. So then
Sure.
she's in Houston and dad's working all the time and taking business trips and she's just kind of stuck at the house. And so when they divorced, it was weird to be the child of a single mother. I felt like when I was at school, everyone had two parents at home, and there
Yeah.
would be a
Back in
lot of
that
like,
day. Yeah.
where's your dad? That's what and you felt like kind of like a dickhead because you're like, I don't have a dad. You go to Little League or something, and your dad's not. It's your mom,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Sure.
mom's young. Like she's a single woman and wants to like, have her life.
Sure.
So there was a lot of like 1970s, the parent, even married parents, they'd split for a cocktail party and you kids are home alone and they might come home the next day. Like
Right.
there was a lot more just like go sit in the car with it running while mom goes shopping, like
Yeah.
that's just what happened.
Yeah. It was very
So
different.
it was, it was kind of weird in that regard. I mean, now, you know,
Hey guys, ever wish you could get involved in music licensing and start collecting ongoing royalties for placing your tracks in movies, commercials, trailers, and video games? Well, now you can. Simply check out this new free training video called Where the Money's Hiding in the Music Business. You can find it online at musicreboot.com. And this video shows you how to create the financial stability you've always wanted and how to take advantage of the current explosion of opportunities in music licensing due to the current situation of streaming and the internet. So check it out online right now at musicreboot.com. Whether you've never made a placement before, or even if you've made a few placements, but you don't have a specific system to make ongoing placements more consistently, this video's got you covered. So check it out online right now at musicreboot.com. That's an interesting dichotomy because you had like this independent woman as a role model, which was awesome and encouraging and very different for that time. But at the same time, you're like, when she wasn't there, I could see that being, and you're like on your own, alone. That's got to be, that's tough for a little kid to process.
It's a weird one. Like we lived,
Yeah.
we lived on the west side of LA. Like I always say this too. We lived in Brentwood, Brentwood's super fucking shishi, but there are sections that are not super. It's sort of like you ever saw the movie The Slums of Beverly Hills. There's like Beverly Hills adjacent places that are they're not shitty, but they were. So long story short, we lived in this massive. There was a whole block street called Sam Barrington by a rec center, and it had just dozens of apartment buildings on them. And back in those days, apartment buildings could refuse to rent to people with children. There were adults only apartment buildings. So basically, the shittier, cheapo places was where all the single moms with kids got stuck. And I don't. So I used to refer to them as like the single mom ghettos, because there might have been one family that I know of in this massive, 100-something unit building, whatever it was, where there was a dad. But he was like he was a tragic alcoholic who would get drunk and beat his kids with the Hot Wheels tracks. So that was the married family. There was and I used to think.
So all those women walking around like, that's why we're not married.
I think when the kids got the new orange Hot Wheel track for Christmas, that they would start crying because they're like, "Oh no, Dad's gonna." I mean, it was brutal.
Dad's new weapon. That's fucking horrible,
totally.
Man.
So it was lots of, and the moms were all working. So
sure,
it was. You want to talk feral cats? It was kids running amok with no adult supervision. Kids were doing coke. Everyone was smoking weed. I didn't do any of it. Kids were having sex. Kids were making out, stealing their parents' booze. It was like complete.
How did you stay away from all that?
I don't know. I had
left
a weird
to your
moral,
own devices.
I had a weird moral compass. I was scared by most of it. I was scared by the drugs and the booze. I was scared by the girls. I also knew my mom, that it was a tough gig for her, and if I fucked up, it was going to make her life. You know what I mean? Like, I just didn't want to add to her, put more stuff on her plate. I made out with girls. I definitely remember that. So there was one girl, Julie. I still remember her. Her mom was like a bartender somewhere, and always had a fully stocked bar. And it was,
the things we remember.
The kids really got up to a lot of no good, and I just was kind of freaked out by it. So I steered clear of it. It was
to your credit. God. I mean,
I know
you could have bypassed a shit ton of problems by doing that as an adult.
I would think so. I mean, you're in third. I mean, I was in third or fourth grade. I was a little, had I been a teenager, I don't know if things would have been different. I still think I would have, because I was really straight in high school. So around this time, my mom met Jack, the guy from Houston.
Sure.
And she kind of had a string of just like, she always dated musicians. I mean, if I could go back in time, I'd be like, Mom,
Mom,
you're
sit down.
you're blowing it, like, So
I want to get you on the right path, Mom.
I know, but she met a musician who was super nice, and he worked for Sperry Univac Computers.
Oh,
and
yeah, sure, I remember that.
He'd worked on some of the NASA moon launches, some of the later ones, because he was in Houston.
Wow.
So the LBJ Space Center. Yeah, he was super cool, like super math geek. Like, he was a complete nerd, but happened to be like a really good blues rock guitar player, and was a nice guy, and was younger than my mom, was quite a bit, maybe 9 years younger. So right. I really liked him. Like, we went to Disneyland for my birthday, and he was just a really nice, fun guy who was nice to my mom. So he, you know what I mean? So like that. So once he showed up, they had the dual income. So we could move, we eventually rented a house, and that's when we moved to the Valley. Right. So, and that moving to the Valley was huge, because I was a West Side guy, and being you were a Val, and like that was considered uncool. Like Valley people were considered, gauche and not cool, and you weren't near the beach. And I don't know what, I didn't give a shit, but I didn't want to be called a Val. I didn't want to be called a Val by my West Side friends. And then when this was a huge moment. It was like when the Berlin Wall got built, because for about a year, everything was 213 area code, right? 213 went from like Santa Barbara to San Diego. Right. We were all just one big happy area code. And for about a year, they're like, okay, the Valley is going to get this 818 area code. Because in the past, you would just dial 476-7139. There were no area codes to deal with, sure, unless you knew someone in San Diego. And I remember my grandparents, you still had rotary phones that would have the prefix GR, because they figured people couldn't remember 7 numbers. So your phone number would be Granite 26955, which
Yeah,
was
they did
GR.
New York too, right? Yeah.
Totally. Dakota, whatever.
Yeah.
So one day I'm at a party. I'm young. I'm in 8th grade, but I would always call my mom. She gave me a super long leash, but it was like, just let me know what you're doing. And there was no cell
Right.
phone. So anytime I went to a party, I'd have to scope out the phone. And I'll never forget the night I'm at a party in 8th grade, and I go to dial my home, and I get the recording. You must dial the 818 area code before. And I was like, that's it. Like 213 is over. I'm now 818. And when I give someone my
You're
phone
a
number,
Val.
I'm a Val.
You can't hide it.
No, but I'm a proud Val now. But at the time I was so bummed.
That's a good story, man. That's a good story. That guy really changed everybody's life in that house. It sounds like. It's nice. It sounds like you all deserved a break.
Yeah, no, it was a good, and then eventually my mom was able to buy a house. Yeah, the dual income thing, it's still huge. I mean,
Yeah.
having a husband and wife both working, or you
You
two
have
partners or whatever.
I mean, I don't know how it's really tough. My son is a single dad, and he's really struggling, and he's got his daughter full time, and we're just,
Oh yeah,
it's tough. Yeah, it's really tough.
no, that's
Wow.
yeah. I mean, I'm grateful there because my ex-wife and I get along fine, and like as I said, they live a kilometer down the road, and I take them. I took him to school a little early so I would be here on time. But yeah, I drive him to school every day and do our thing, so it's not, there's no
punishment.
No, exactly.
That's yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, without getting to that whole thing, but definitely if there's acrimony, the kid ends up like a fucking, like Poland between Soviet Union and Nazi Germany. It's just no one wins.
Yeah, it was terrible. My ex was like that, and it was really difficult. It was tough on us, but it was really tough on the kids. That's what I was, but I wound up getting full custody of them, so everything worked out in the end. But yeah, it's you're fortunate. Hang on, Hazel, you got to come here. Now I wanted to ask him. You did mention about your dad that he was a UCLA football star. So I was curious if it's irrelevant. You don't have to talk about it. But how did that? I'm only asking because you specifically mentioned it. How did that impact or influence you, if at all?
It was interesting because he was definitely like, it's a hackneyed term now. You're a rock star, but to be on the Bruins in like the late 50s, early 60s, he was a rock star. Like they went to the Rose Bowl, they lost, but he still, when he talks about the couple weeks leading up to the Rose Bowl, I can tell that's, that was life change for him because they got just wined and dined and were gods, and he was like, I think he got a high school All-American thing. Like he was like a big deal in that era of late 50s, early 60s football. And times changed. He wasn't big. Like, I mean, long story short, it was right around that time that they finally like integrated football teams, like, and it wasn't just all white guys. And all of a sudden you had this whole pool.
Isn't that amazing to think of that? This was in our lifetime.
Totally. And you now have a whole pool of guys that weren't there before. And maybe dad, he's good, but there's a lot of other guys now coming that had been held back, and they're good, So I think, my mom said he could have gone and played in Canada, and he was kind of like, it's got to be NFL or nothing. And my mom was like, I was totally willing to go to Canada because I thought it'd be neat that he could do his thing. And I wished he had. And
yeah,
but it's funny. I was at another sidebar. I was at my son's swimming some years back, and there was a mother there, and she came up to me and was like, "Oh, I was talking to your wife, and my dad played football with your dad at UCLA." And I was
holy
like,
crap.
And I was like, wow. And my dad, I mentioned the name. My dad goes, "Oh, hell of a player." I knew that guy. So that guy went pro and played for the Dolphins, actually, and some other teams. And she said, your dad probably got lucky. My dad's a fucking wreck because they shot him up with every kind of steroid and God knows what. And they just played him injured. And he's really beaten up and concussed. Like they all got concussions. So he's like got dementia. So I think my dad was still alive.
Your dad dodged a bullet.
I think for that era, like he played with Billy Kilmer, who played for the Saints.
From the Washington Redskins.
Skins, dude.
Yeah. Holy shit. He was
what are they now?
The Commanders. I'm sorry.
Billy. Even as a kid, I was like, that name really rankles. It's not. But I ran into Billy Kilmer at Santa Anita Racetrack, And
This is hilarious.
my uncle was like, "Hey Billy, this is Mitch Dimkic's dad." He's like, "Oh, hey, yeah." And I go, "I met you when you played the Oilers at the Astrodome in '70." He goes, "Oh shit, I remember that game, son. They had a hell of a whatever. Knock me on my ass. That was a great, you know." And
That's funny.
I worshipped Billy Kilmer, and like,
Well, he was
yeah,
a
my
big
dad,
deal, man. He was
yeah.
like the guy, you know?
No, my dad knew him, and they were pals. And those guys made so little money that they in the off season would go to car dealerships as salesmen, and they would basically just be the famous guy who'd sit around and probably drink scotch, and people would show up to see Billy Kilmer and buy a Chrysler.
Right.
Like that was so they.
Yeah, but nowadays it's the opposite. They're making so much money and they can't catch a fucking. You know, you're a wide receiver. You got one job: catch a fucking ball, right? Just one job.
I mean, I haven't watched football since probably that era, but I loved watching games in Buffalo where they fucking play in the snow.
Oh, that's brutal.
And you'd see like the Dolphins would just be falling apart because they're not used to the snow, and like,
right.
Or the Jets, you know, with Joe Namath. I love that '70s.
Oh, it was a great era. It was exciting.
I loved it. Fucking J.R. Richards for the Astros. The Astros broke my heart so many times getting knocked out of the playoffs.
Did you see that documentary? There's a great Nolan Ryan documentary. Have you seen it?
No, I got to watch that because he pitched
really
for the Astros.
Good. Yeah,
he was great.
It's a really good documentary.
I loved that era, and then of course when the Astros win, it was the whole fucking sign stealing thing, and I'm like, God damn you guys, you finally won. I was able to watch it, and then you kind of get humiliated, so you broke my heart. 30 years later. So
that's so funny. That's cool. That's good stories, man. Good story. So your dad's around. He's doing okay now.
Yeah. I was renting, you know, those big roll-off bins. I was cleaning my garage out like 20 odd years ago. And I just went into the Yellow Pages because that's how long ago it was. And I just randomly picked some, you know, rubbish haul-off company. And I called up and some guy answers, you know, and he's taking my name down and he asked my name and I tell him Dimkic and he pauses. He goes, Dimkic, why do I want to call you Mitch? I go, that's my dad. He goes, your dad play ball? Oh. I go, yeah. He goes, hell of a ball player. I'm going to give you an 18-foot bin for the price of a 10-footer. Because
there you go, the gift that keeps on giving.
I called my dad, like, you're never going to guess what your football career just got me. And he was like, hell of a my in-laws knew who he was. They all went to Cal and they were like, oh, hell of a ball player. That's what those people. So
that's wild.
I'm there is an age group that when they hear my name, because no one else has my name. It's the
right. It's very unique.
There's no, if you have that last name, you're related to me. End of story.
Sure.
So people hear Dimkic and they'll just be like, UCLA Bruins, right? So yeah, I totally still get that. It's nice.
UCLA Bruins. That's funny, man. That is nice. That's really cool, man. That's a nice little legacy there. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
Thanks for sharing. Those are really good, cool stories, man. Okay, so you start playing in bands in your teens. In your early 20s, you wind up meeting Steve Jones, and then you played with him for a while. How the hell did you wind up like just connecting with him even? Because, you know, I've never met him, but you read all these things and it's like, you would think it would be like, I'm sure it's not, but you know, from what you read and on the outside, it'd be like super intimidating. Here you are, this young kid going over to Steve Jones. How did that all come out or go down? How did you guys connect?
The whole, it kind of goes back. My ex-wife always would say that my upbringing was like Almost Famous, like the movie, you know, like the kind of wacky mom and you're just kind of cut loose, you know, but mom's like, make sure to behave yourself. So I loved the Sex Pistols. And then they'd broken up. Like I didn't really even get into like new music until probably 1980. And it was like the B-52s and the Cramps and, you know, Devo. Yeah. And then I kind of was like, well, what's this Sex Pistols band? Because they started this whole thing, right? Sure. So I went back, and as soon as I heard that record, it was like probably when someone first heard the Beatles or Little Richard or Elvis. Like it was, and that's what I always say is, it's not punk rock so much to me. What I consider is that was just the great new music of that time. In the same way that, because my mom's boyfriend Jack, he saw Little Richard, he saw the Beatles. He saw Paul Revere and the Raiders, Otis Redding, all these fucking guys. Wow. And I was like, what was it like? He goes, it was just the great new thing. You didn't think anything. So that's what I think the Sex Pistols were. And by the time I was getting the music, they were gone. And so it was kind of as far as I was concerned, punk rock was kind of over. I liked that style of music, but he had a band afterwards with Paul Cook called the Professionals, who I
Yeah.
really loved. They were like a little more poppy and a little more mainstream, and I loved it. And I missed their LA show. I had tickets to the first one. They had a car crash and the tour got postponed a year. When they came back, it coincided, that was the school talent show where my band was going to play that night. And that was my first ever gig. And I was like, in retrospect, I could have done the gig and hustled to Hollywood to see them, but I didn't.
That's a big, overwhelming thing when you're probably keyed up as hell to your first.
You got to do your first gig.
Yeah,
as much as I want to see them. So that band broke up, and then a year or so later, my mom found a clipping, because she by this point worked for an advertising guy in the film industry. So she would read Variety and Billboard and all this stuff, and she cut out a clipping for me that said, "Hey, Steve Jones has some new band in New York with two of the guys from Blondie and two or three of the guys from Blondie and this guy Michael DeBar, who was in Silverhead and Detective." I think my mom knew who he was. So they were coming to town. Like she's like, they're doing a tour. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to finally see Steve Jones in the flesh. So they were doing 2 shows at the Roxy, like Friday and Saturday night, 2 shows a night, like an 8 and a 10 p.m. show. Those were the days. So God bless my mom. She took me Friday night. I think I went to both shows. Like, I'm sure I did the 8
Your
o'clock show.
mom sounds like the coolest mom ever, honestly, man. I'm sure she had her faults and her weaknesses, but she sounded like a super, like, caring human being,
I think what it was is she probably saw in me this like passion for music.
Yeah.
And probably figured, like, her passion for, she wrote poetry and like song lyrics and short stories. And I think that was just, never encouraged by her parents or society. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and she had a kid, so she couldn't like just run off and be a hippie in San Francisco and smoke pot and write poems. I mean, she stayed at home and smoked pot and wrote poems, but
she could have. That's the thing, I mean, that, like, the fact that, she had that, sort of like yearning, she could have, but she didn't. That's what I'm saying. She was a good mom. She said,
she had a kid.
She wasn't like, these narcissistic parents that you probably see, in your kid's school. Like, it's all about me. Like, the kids are like,
no, she definitely ate shit on my behalf.
Yeah. Which is wonderful.
So maybe in her, she thought that if she kind of nurtured that in me, that she could at least, not because my dad was not a fan of the music thing. Like he was very straight. He was a company guy and was just thought I was, barking up the wrong tree. And she was the opposite. So she took me to that show, and they played the second night. And I remember I had to go to the bar mitzvah of her boss's son. God bless her. She didn't want to go to the bar mitzvah either, believe me, but it was her boss. We had to go. So we go to the bar mitzvah in Beverly Hills. But the 10 o'clock show we can make at the Roxy, because that's where they're playing.
This is hysterical.
And she fucking drove me down to the show. I don't know if she'd go to like the sushi bar across the street or maybe hang out with her friends. She liked music though too. And she would go watch the band. But I remember seeing Steve Jones at whatever the first show probably was. And he looked great. Like he'd been, I knew all this later, but he'd been living in New York, just being, a raging junkie, and, didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. So did this band, and they were making cash. But I just remember he walked out on stage and was like super skinny, and his hair was like huge. It looked like Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. Like it was massive. And he even had like a little bit of a mustache. Like he honestly looked like a white Phil Lynott.
That's so funny. And
he just played great. Like I distinctly remember he had like a Mesa Boogie SOB and a Fender Deluxe, like daisy chain together, like you would do. You go in the number 1 input and out to number 2 and into the number 1, and was just fucking deafening loud. And I remember just looking up at him, and I remember he would say this about when he would see like David Bowie or Mott the Hoople, that these people were like they came from outer space. Like I couldn't believe that they existed, because I'd only seen pictures, and they lived in England, and were very hard to see. and him just playing guitar. I remember I probably was just losing my mind. Like, I don't think I was crying like Beatlemania, but I was like agog. And I remember he looked at me, and I get the feeling that he saw a little kid. I was 14 maybe, and understood what he was seeing. You know, that it was a kid like him who probably one day wanted to do that. And I remember he like tossed his crazy amounts of hair back and winked at me and smiled like, I
That's
see
so
you.
cool.
And it's like, I get choked up thinking about it because it changed my life. I was like,
Yeah.
I think I can do this. Like that was, and I mean, we're friends now, and I told him that. And if you, of course, no recollection. It's just like, oh, you know, I'm glad I could help you out, mate. But it was, so they started playing around town, and I just would bug him. Like I would show up anytime they played and get his autograph every time. So, you know, he probably at a certain point was like, this kid again, you know, but I was just a little kid, you know, and he was, so he got to know who I was, and, you know, like knew who the little fan kid was. And fast forward, the band lasted a year or so. He got strung out again. The band dissolved. He ripped a bunch of people off and was kind of like persona non grata in a lot of circles.
He's an addict, man. That's,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, he was just selling shit that wasn't his. And somehow I bumped in. He had a band that was with a guy called Rick Dano, and it was called the Dano Jones Band. And by this point, he was sober a few months. So it was like a sober guys band. It was a bunch of sober guys. And I went to that, and it was at the Central, which became the Viper Room. And I mean, there might have been 10 people. It was really like, and to his credit, I gone from being in the Sex Pistols and Checkered Past and all these bands to playing to 10 people, I don't know how I would have been chasing the nearest bunch of heroin or God knows what I could have found to just erase how depressing this is. And he soldiered through. So he saw me, and, you know, Steve, a savvy guy, he was like, hey, what's up, mate? Long story short, he was playing, I don't know what kind of guitar he was playing. It like wasn't even, he had like a fucking little tiny Music Man amp, like practice amp, you know, and like some awful borrowed, you know, Gibson copy or something. I said, dude, I got a Fender Twin and a Les Paul. If you'd like to borrow it, I'll roadie for you. Like I was thrilled. And he was like, you got it, mate. So I became kind of his little, kind of trying to think in the English military, I'd be his Batman. You know, I would be like the young, underling, cabin boy, and
How old were you at the time?
I could drive now. So I was 16 or 17. I was in 11th grade. So probably.
So, hey man, 17. I give you some credit because that's kind of a ballsy move.
I don't, he knew me enough by then that it was, I think he didn't have, I don't think he had a lot of friends at that time. He'd really burned a lot of people and was just getting his feet again. You know what I mean? Like, and I think he was happy to have someone who,
cared, probably.
Yeah.
And you had a guitar, a clean slate with you.
Yeah. And I wasn't a bad, well, he muddied the slate not long thereafter, but, so I was like roading for this band of his, and this has a good intersection of and Steve knows the story, so I'm not outing him. He'd forgotten about it. And there's a really nice, sorry, I'm cracking my neck. There's a really nice resolution to the story that happened just a few months ago. But
that's awesome.
So I'm not playing in his band yet, I don't think, but I'm kind of trying to wheedle myself. Maybe I was. Maybe at this point I got in there because the other guys in the band were older guys. And my buddy from school was a great drummer. So he's like 16, 17, and we got in his band. And we weren't even old enough to be in these clubs because you got to be 18. But
sure.
So that was so we started playing with Steve, and I played guitar. And then Jack actually came in on bass for a while. But then he had some other gigs because he was in kind of a big band called the Bone Daddies that was like a kind of a big LA kind of world music kind of band. So I switched over to bass, which was fine. And so I'm getting to play with Steve now and rehearse. But he calls me. He's like, hey, mate, I'm doing a session with some, she's like an Australian playmate or something. But she's going to record a Sex Pistols song called Black Leather. And Kim Fowley is producing. So, I'll pay you. Can you bring the amp and guitar down? And I think he was going to pay him, because he was going to get paid. Maybe he was going to give me $100 or something. I was doing all this for nothing, so I didn't care. But so I drive down. We're at this studio. I'll never forget. It was just east of Highland and Hollywood, maybe. It was on McCadden Street. And we roll in there, and there's Kim Fowley just looking like, Frankenstein's monster with that big square head. And he's just odd. And I never met the guy, but I knew of the Runaways. I knew of him. And Steve's there, and there's a woman. She's Australian. She looks like Michael Monroe, but she's a woman. And her boyfriend is this kind of. Her boyfriend is this kind.
That was great.
Michael Monroe probably is better looking. I'm sure he is now. I guarantee you, Michael Monroe is. That guy looks amazing after you've fucking seen the guy. It's crazy. And her boyfriend was this like Johnny Thunders looking, maybe English guy, but tattooed, kind of Izzy Stradlin looking. And I love Johnny Thunders. I knew the whole thing, and he looked a little shady to me. And then I don't know if it's before or after, but Izzy Stradlin shows up, and that was bad news then, because there was no Guns N' Roses. He was a heroin dealer at that point.
Oh shit!
But I didn't quite get what was going on.
But you knew it wasn't good. It sounded like
I knew things were looking a little dicey. Like this was not looking wholesome, and
this was not looking wholesome. I love
the kind of like English Izzy Stradlin guy goes, "Hey mate, are you guys going to go get that gear?" And I go, "Well, the gear's right here. I brought it."
Wrong gear.
And I knew that expression from Steve. Like he had told me war stories about like, oh, I went and scored some gear and whatever, but he was talking about the past. But once I heard gear, I was like, oh no, this is not. So Steve's like, hey mate, we got to go do something. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So I'm driving my car around, and I'm 17. And we drove all over the fucking place. We honestly went to a Chinese laundry. Like that's how cliched it was. Like
no ticky, no shirty, man.
No ticky, no junkie, no smacky. And Steve's getting more and more like kind of wound up because every place we go is a dead end. And finally,
this is not good.
We show up at just some fucking shitty building on like Wilton or somewhere in East Hollywood. And he comes running down. He's like, "Let's go!" And like we take off. And anytime we get to a light that's turning red, he's like, "Just go, mate. It's still yellow." And I'm like, I'm thinking, I know why he's in a rush, but I'm not getting pulled over on a school night with heroin. This is not good. Like we would have gone to jail.
Yeah.
I was now, my Guitar Hero was starting to really upset me because I was like, my mom's going to fucking kill me if I have to call her from jail for a Class A narcotics arrest. Like this isn't good. And it's a school night. So we get back to the studio. Steve runs off to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh God. So I'm, Kim Fowley's like, oh, I'm glad you guys got that figured out or whatever. And now I feel like they think I'm just kind of in the little kind of
in cahoots with it. Like you're another junkie here.
Yeah, and I'm just
junkie in training. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just horrified. So Steve comes out.
Shit.
Steve comes out high as a kite, and I kind of look down, and I remember he's wearing like John Travolta in Grease gray sweatpants, and I can see that he's got a syringe like stuck in his socks and the plunger sticking out, and I'm just like, oh, like as if I didn't need the confirmation. There it was.
Yeah.
So they begin the recording sessions, getting later and later. The drummer cannot play. The drummer's terrible. So Steve's high as a kite. He sits down and plays the drum track. Then he overdubs the bass, and then plays all the guitar and sings the backing vocals. And he's just out of his gourd high, but still is that musical. Like he really is a superb musician. Like he
what was that artist doing there? Oh, she must have been like, wait a minute, I'm paying for all this. Like this is chaos.
Well, it really wasn't chaos because Steve was high, but unless we were worried about cigarette ashes falling on the floor, because it was that long because he was like nodding off. He played great. And Kim, it's Kim Fowley. He played better than any of the guys she brought to play.
Okay.
Like he was just like, hang on, sweetheart, let me do this. We're wasting time. So he knocked it all out of the park. But it's getting later and later. I'm like, I got to get out of here. So I split, and I go home, and it's 3 a.m, and I go to school the next day, and I'm just exhausted, and I'm really bummed because I know that like Steve's not sober anymore. He's run amok. I don't hear from him for like a week, and that's not good because my 3CBS Fender Twin and custom shop. It was the first year. It was the first year of the custom shop 30th anniversary gold top, so it had like the nice arch top, Tim Shaw pickups.
God.
That I've not heard from him. I'm like, well, this is not good. So,
oh my God.
He
that guitar was probably like nothing that you're going to be able to replace really easily.
You know, here's the crazy thing is I had another one. By this point, I owned 2 Les Pauls. That was my favorite one. But I was more bummed that, like, my friend was going down the tubes. Like, I was like, you know, it's a guitar and an amp. I'm bummed, but he is my hero. And I'm more sad that he's probably going to OD, you know?
Yeah.
I was just more sad about the whole situation, you know, than like that. I was young enough that it wasn't like, you fucking rip off motherfucker, you know, where years later you would be like, you wouldn't have the patience for this. But I was, you know, I was much more understanding. So he called me and he's like, I got your amp. He goes, I pawned your guitar, but it was like a 60 or 90 day, like it wasn't gone. The guitar was not going away. It was 30 or 50 bucks to get it out of Hawk. And the pawn shops on Santa Monica, the pawn shops on Santa Monica, I know that pawn, I still pass that pawn shop. Still there. So he's like, I got 30 bucks or 50. He goes, I just gave Plasma. I got 50 bucks. So that's where the blood supply was coming. The AIDS epidemic was, no, dude, it was, I mean, these were rough times.
Dude, so they still have that going on now. I read an article recently that there are tons of people that get by and make their rent by doing this plasma. They give bonuses and it's like they're kiting one bonus guy from another. It's fucking scary times, dude.
I mean, especially when if you're going to get people who are living in, you know, kind of on the fringes of shit, particularly, you know, people using IV drugs. It's like, you know, and this was, you know, they weren't, you know, they didn't realize yet that the blood supply was getting tainted. I mean, that was not an issue for Steve, but I mean, God knows, you know, how many people. Hepatitis C definitely was like a lot of people got that from blood transfusions. So he's like, the guitar's been pawned. I gave blood. I got 50 bucks. So I'm like, okay, just show up at the pawn ticket. All right. So by the time he shows up, he's got like 30 bucks. He's like, well, I had to give some money to my roommate. I had to buy some lunch. I'm like, I don't care. Just give me the goddamn pawn ticket, you know? So I go to the pawn shop. Somehow my mom got involved. Somehow I had to come clean with my mom because she had to drive. I don't know why I had to come clean with her. Maybe I had to borrow the money, but I had to confess. Steve pawned the guitar. There was heroin shenanigans going on, and she's not happy now. This is almost famous where she's like, you know, you can't be running around. So we go to the pawn shop. I have the pawn ticket, but I'm not Steve Jones, so the guy won't give me the guitar.
Oh my God.
We get in the car and my mom lost her fucking mind. Like, this is partly why I didn't fuck around, because my mom's dad had a temper that was terrifying. And her temper was as terrifying. And she flipped her lid, rightfully so. But we were driving down the fast lane and it was one of those, like, she was like road raging and screaming and like, I can't fucking believe it. You know, what, you know, why are we associated with junkies and stolen guitars? And like, this is all, you know, I couldn't really argue, like, but Mom. So yeah. She was furious. She's like, I knew this was a bad idea. Like, so I got the guitar back. But she was mad. And Steve, somehow, because Steve's a charming guy and my mom was nice enough, she like forgave him for like ripping off her kid and like involving me. And maybe I didn't tell the, like, I drove and scored heroin with him. I might have left that part out.
Wisely so.
Yeah, because that was.
Hey, Mom, one more thing.
Yeah, we were like, I could have, you know, because I mean, I don't know how that would have gone down if the cops and fucking sheriffs had pulled us over.
Not in your best interest, I can tell you that much.
No, it would have been bad. So,
holy crap!
A few months ago, Steve and I were hiking up on Dirt Mulholland. And we were talking about something, and he asked about my ex-wife, or somehow my mother came up. Something that we were talking about stuff. And he goes, well, you know, did your mom have a bad temper? And I go, yeah. I said, my mom really could fly off the handle at the wrong time sometimes. You know, sometimes that was one of the bad things about her. She could transfer anger about certain things onto people that didn't deserve it. But in this instance, she had every right to lose her marbles. So I said, well, actually, Steve, the angriest I ever saw my mother was that time you pawned my gold top. And he goes, when did I pawn your gold top? I said, don't you remember the Kim? He goes, oh my God. He goes, did I? He goes, I blanked that whole thing out. I go, yeah. He goes, did you get your guitar back? I go, yeah, I did. And I said, but it was really funny. By the time you showed up, you had no money. So I had to pay the $60 to get it out. And he goes, well, mate, I'm not excusing myself. He goes, but I must have actually cared about you, because anyone else, I would have just never spoken to you again, and that guitar would have been gone. And he goes, what do you think in 1985 or 84? He goes, what do you think $60 was worth then? I said, I don't know. He goes, you think 300? I go, yeah, I guess, and he opens his wallet and just gives me $300 and goes, and I go, dude, I'm not going to take your money. No, I have
An inflation adjusted repayment.
And he said, no, he said, I have to do this, mate. I ripped you off. And it was just, I couldn't believe that there would be.
That's cool.
I wasn't carrying around a grudge about that. It was a funny story. And I got Miles. I told him, I said, dude, I've gotten miles out of that story. Because I'm sure you have. But he made amends and gave me $300.
That's very cool.
No, he's a good dude.
He's sober now, I'm assuming?
He's been sober 30-something years.
Okay, great. So that's making amends, man. Step 12.
Yeah, that was a good. Yeah, that was just too funny. I was like, dude, I didn't tell you this to kind of. I just thought I was surprised he didn't remember, because it was, it was a pretty pivotal moment in my teenage years.
That's pretty wild, man. That's a nice way to close. So let me ask you this. So you've had a couple of events, right? Your stepdad coming in.
Yeah.
This event with Steve Jones. And so you've had a couple of like specific life-changing events. When you go back and look at these things, how do you personally account for them? Do you look at it as like a God or a higher power thing? Do you look at it as serendipity or just like random shit? How do you place those sort of events in your life?
I don't know, man. I think I have a good friend who, as I've gone along in music, I've had that weird kind of, like a lot of people probably have an imposter syndrome. You're like, oh, I just got lucky. Yeah. And I've had a couple of wise people say, well, no, you make your luck. And yes. So I think the sort of inserting myself into like that Steve Jones band, because, and when I ended up in his solo band for his second record, I just showed up uninvited to the audition. Like my buddy actually got the audition through a friend, but he was moving to Germany, and he goes, just come with me, crash the audition. I was like, I did. And I got the fucking gig. And through that gig, I got the Cult gig. So, man, a lot of it is just being at the right place at the right time. Having the skill, that you're trying to sell to people is important.
Yes.
But getting yourself in there, and the funny thing is I'm not a hustler at all. The fact that I manned up enough to crash that rehearsal is the most uncharacteristic maneuver I can probably think of in my life. Like it would be like me, taking a fight with Mike Tyson. Like it's just
not characteristic. Yeah.
How I pulled that off is I still don't know. So I think, and I do think, life events shape you. Like I think if I'd grown up in a like total normal Leave It to Beaver household, I don't think music would have spoken to me like it did. I think that's definitely the case. I do think seeking a hobby that you could put all your like anger and sadness and excitement in, just like some people. My dad probably did it with sports. You have a passion that absolutely consumes you. Like there was no room for anything else. Like I played Little League a bit, but once I got into music, I was like, I have no interest in sports. That's for jocks. That's not, obviously I changed my mind on that, but at the time you're like, that's not cool. Everything was about music. Like that's all I cared about. So, I don't know if that, I don't think there's like a universal plan, okay. I don't, but I don't see I could have done anything else. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was my destiny. I think, that, and I would say that's probably the same for anyone who you you can't, that's what I would say to anybody. Like when we play shows, invariably every couple tours, there'll be someone on the staff, like a caterer or somebody, and they'll have their child with them, like a teenage son who's like working the show with them and wanting to come see the Cult or Bad Religion. And I'll be in the catering room, they're cleaning up or something, and I'm hanging out drinking a beer or something. And I remember distinctly once the mother was the caterer, and she said, "Hey, my son really wants to be in a band. Like, is there anything you can tell him?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, I will." I said, "How are you doing in school?" She's like, "He's not doing that well." I said, "Well, first of all, dude, get your shit together and do well in school." I said, "I got
Oh,
A's
that's awesome.
because I knew if I fucked around in school, the guitar would go away, or just I would just and I also wanted to get A's. And I liked school, but I just knew if you keep your nose clean there, you got a lot more leeway. Mom will let me go stay out late to go see a band because I'm not missing school and I'm getting A's, and you're allowed to. You're given much more. You have leverage." And I just said,
Yeah.
"Don't fuck up in school." I said, "You're in high school. You should graduate high school. Like, if you want to play music." And the parents are always like, "Oh my God!" Like,
I know, such great advice.
This will get it through his head. And I know plenty
Yeah.
of people who didn't finish school, and they're very bright guys because they're well read. But my advice would be like, try to keep the home front cool. Like don't bum your parents out. Like and if you get straight A's, your parents love to brag to the other parents, like so and so got he got straight A's, and then maybe when you ask for that guitar for Christmas, they're gonna you get some leverage, like
Yeah.
if you're flunking out of school, you have no leverage, and your parents are not going to think rock and roll is going to save you. They think it's going to lead you down the
great
tubes.
advice that is. She must have, did she like give you a hug afterwards or something? That was really
she was just, I think she was flabbergasted.
Yeah, not what she was expecting.
But I mean, that was my point to him. It was like, dude, because if you want to do it, you can't do it half-assed. Like you've got to. Like, that's where I kind of got annoyed with my buddies by the time I got into high school, is they really got into like partying, like playing parties in the band, and you got to meet chicks and party. And I was like, you can meet chicks and party, but you need to like get your craft sorted out. Like,
yeah,
I want to make it in music. Like, I don't want to play a backyard party for keg beer. Like, I had bigger ambitions, and it wasn't like awesome. I want to be a rock star, but I was like, if you can, I just wanted to be good and be in a band, and figured if you're good enough and the stars align, you'll this can be your career, and then then there will be girls, hopefully. I mean, that is in the back of a teenage boy's mind, but it wasn't like I'm going to play guitar to meet women. It was just like I want to do this, and maybe you'll meet women that way, but that was so like all the partying and stuff, I was sort of I was real like a prude. I was like, guys, like, we got to be good. Like, don't get drunk and play shitty.
You had a goal, and that the other stuff was fine, but that goal was your pursuit.
The other stuff was not even icing on the cake. To me, it was like a distraction. To me, it was at this point, we're young and learning our craft. I don't have time. I just don't have time. And guys were like, "Oh, I can't rehearse." I got in a fight with my sister and I hit her, and my parents grounded me. I'm like, "You can't hit your sister." I'm like, "Who the fuck hits their sister?" And also, your parents can ground you. Now you're the drummer. We can't rehearse. Like, I was so down on guys who would fuck up. Like, dude, I got like this great drummer. He was great. He failed something, and his parents are like, "You're not going to rehearsal." So back to the catering mom and the kid, like, you get in the F, you can't go to rehearsal, and you're fucking the band up. And he was a great drummer. He ended up a junkie. I remember that. Like, he went down the tubes. But I didn't. I really was a real taskmaster. Like, I was probably. I don't think I was a dick, but I was not having. I had no time for it. I was like, we got to focus on this. Like,
someone's got to be the leader, number one.
Yeah, and I think
someone's got to fucking run the show in any group, or at least provide the direction. So that was you. And believe me, I'm friends with guys who were in my first band, and one of them is a
hugely successful financial advisor. But it's funny because we're still very friendly, and I'm still doing the same thing I was doing when we met when I was 13 in my bedroom. Like, it's a little.
That's
and
funny.
Granted,
he's coming over to talk about his 401k.
Believe me, his, if he's living like a rock star. Believe me. But
oh my God.
But you followed your passion, and
that's what it's about.
And
that's
he
cool,
actually he followed his passion because he ended up being a mechanic for a racing team. That was what he loved. He was a car guy, and he was good friends with my mom's boyfriend because my mom's boyfriend was also a car guy. And he could build amplifiers. Like, we used to take old Fender heads, and he would build a combo amp, and I would Tolex them, and we basically would build like boogies. Like, we'd put a blackface Bassman into a 1x12 combo thing, and that's what I wish I had that one still, man.
Yeah, that sounds like so your stepdad did this, or your buddy did this?
No, my stepdad. He was a super handy guy.
Wow, that's really cool.
And he built cars in the garage. Like, he was a motorhead guy. Like, he would, build up. I had a V8 Vega. That was like a cool. Like, the Vega was the worst
Chevy
car in the
Vegas.
world.
Those were badass cars back in the day, man. They were.
But I had a 327 with a B&M shifter and God knows what else, and it just fucking went really fast.
Great cars.
And I'd get to a red light, and there'd always be some like kind of dirt head Hesher guy would roll up like, "Dude, what's under the hood?" And I'm just like, I don't know, I was like this wimpy rock and roll guy. I was not white trash, muscle car guy at all. I just drove it because he gave it to me. So.
Sure. That's so cool, man. Okay, 92. That was a stressful year for you. You lost your mom to cancer. And then the Cult at the same year asked you to go out with them. How did you wind up connecting with them? And were you after the European tour, they asked you to join the band. Was that a surprise to you?
What happened is I'd done the Steve Jones Fire and Gasoline kind of hard rock record that the Cult guys had co-produced with him. That was 90, 91, I think. And we did some shows with the Cult opening. So they knew me. And by this point, when the Steve Jones band ended, I was going back to college. Like, I was like, I'm going to get my degree. I'm almost done. And around that time, I moved back home, and my mom got sick, and that spiraled pretty quickly, and she died. So I was going to college. Sorry, and not, just pretty shell shocked. But just kind of like, I remember I went to class the day after she died because you don't know what else to do. You really are like zombie mode. So I went to school, and I had a buddy, Tim Mosier, Dave Rossoff. They'd been in some bands that were much hipper than the bands I'd been in the 80s when everyone got signed, like 88, 89. I was never in a signed band. The Steve Jones thing was the closest I got, but I was like a hired guy. But everyone had record deals. Like, Brian Baker from Bad Religion was in Junkyard. Tim Mosier had a band called Broken Glass. My friend David was in Kill for Thrills with Gilby from Guns N' Roses later. Mm. And I always really liked those guys. And they got in touch with me, and they're like, "Hey, we're forming a band. It's Brian Baker on bass, Rossi on drums, Tim Mosier playing guitar and singing. Do you want to play guitar?" And I was thrilled because these guys were like, kind of like the top tier of dudes who weren't Guns N' Roses. You know what I mean? Like, they were guys who I really respected as musicians. And Junkyard was over by this point, and Brian was going to play bass. So I was thrilled to get to play with these guys because I always thought I was really flattered that they asked me to play with them. And I remember the first gig, Brian Baker took mushrooms. He's sober now. But I remember
there you go again.
he was on mushrooms. It was a lot of fun. So that band was called High City Miles. We did some demos. It was very professionals clash. It was a really fun band. And it kind of looked like we might get signed. There was kind of like bands. It was 92, 93. And it was kind of the post-metal thing. And, bands like the Goo Goo Dolls were kind of coming up. And, we were like a rock and roll clash pop band. Long story short, we rehearsed at this place called Cole Rehearsals, where I think Brian Baker might have worked at the time. And I showed up early, which was unlike me because I had to drive from the Valley all the way to like fucking East Hollywood. And I showed up early, and Billy Duffy was there. And I go, "Hey, what's up, mate?" And he goes, "Oh, we're rehearsing. What are you up to?" I said, "Oh, I'm playing with my band. We're playing, at this bar this weekend." He goes, "Oh, well, we're doing a summer tour with Metallica, and I think we might need to beef up the sound. Do you have plans this summer? I'm like, no, I'm not doing anything. He goes, well, here's my phone number. Why don't you give me a bell and maybe, we set up an audition. So we went about our way, went on our ways. And I remember thinking at the time, like, well, I can't call him and like bail on my friends. Like I'm in a band, with my buddies. I don't, I mean, I really didn't have the mercenary hustle. I honestly was like, oh, that's nice, but I'm not going to go try to play with the Cult. Like I really was like, I'm going to stick it out with my band playing in the bar. And then I got home, and I'd say a week later, I mean, I was just getting these stacks of medical bills for my mom, which I didn't have to pay eventually, but I all of a sudden was in charge of a house and had to pay the property taxes and pay the fucking cable bill. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was 23 or 4. So
where the hell are you supposed to get the money from?
No, exactly. I was going to college. She probably had a little bit of money left in the checking account. And I think what I did is I would just forge checks from her checking account and deposit them in my bank account because I don't think I knew her PIN number. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like really, like what the fuck? So I called Billy Duffy. I'm like, I got to make some money. So I rang him up, and he was, oh, we're recording at Sound City. Why don't you come down? So I went down and auditioned. It was him, and the bass player was Craig Adams. It was the album that had the GOAT on it. That's the record they were recording. It was a really short-lived lineup, and it had guy Scott Garrett on drums. And it was After Ceremony, which was the one after Sonic Temple. So I went, and Ian wasn't there that I saw.
The Ceremony was a good record. I remember that.
But it didn't do well. Like, instead of it being Sonic Temple Part 2, right. it tanked. So, and already they were kind of having rifts where Ian didn't want to go more commercial, like kind of hard rock metal. I think Billy did. Ian wanted that GOAT record with the goat or sheep on it was very alt and kind of wacky, but that's what Ian wanted to do. Ian's like Velvet Underground, Patti Smith guy.
Sure.
And Billy is, he's Mott the Hoople. But at that time, I think he was maybe even thinking a little Bon Jovi. Like, let's go all out and just fucking sell millions of records and be able to retire. Fair enough. I get it. But Ian's an artist and was always that guy. So I auditioned, but I guess Ian was listening outside. And I don't know, a week later, Billy calls and goes, Ian loved it. You're in, mate. And I was just like, he's like, do you have a passport? I'm like, I got to get it renewed. So I got my passport renewed and was in college, and the tour was going to start. I would have to leave college like 2 weeks early, like before finals. So I went to all my professors and said, look, here's the deal. I'm going to do this whether or not. But because I was getting A's in every class, the teachers were like, Mike, of course you can take the finals early. You're going to get an A anyway. You're not a deadbeat who's trying to get out of finals. The only teacher who gave me an incomplete and I had to come back and take the final was the Spanish teacher, which I thought was funny because when we toured Spain, I was speaking Spanish fluently.
That's so funny. Awesome for you, man.
So yeah, within a couple weeks of that audition, my first show with them was Hanover, Germany, opening for Metallica. And it was a soccer stadium. Like, it was 60,000 people.
Oh,
that was my first show.
So your first show with them? That's like baptism by fire, man.
It was so weird how not scary it was.
Really?
It was the weirdest thing. It was just like, okay. The only thing that I learned was like monitor mixes are a whole nother thing on a stage like that, because I realized in one song I had played like a verse when it was a chorus and just didn't even know until like singing happened. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, like that was bad. So yeah, and we just fucking opened for Metallica and Guns N' Roses.
That's crazy.
It was really bizarre. I mean, I needed it, man. After the thing with my mom and everything, I kind of felt like, I kind of earned this. Like, karmically, the universe, gave me this.
Brought some joy into your life, man. Yeah.
Oh man. I'd never really been to Europe other than England with my mom. So I really got a taste for travel and for Europe and the culture. And when the tour ended, I just met some girls at a phone booth in London, and just ended up staying with them in their flat in Camden Town, when Camden Town was not cool. Like, it was cool.
I've been to Camden. Now it's all it's kind of like West Village-y, New York City a little bit.
Yes. Yeah. I stayed at their flat, and I went and visited it a couple years ago, and it's so funny because it's so gentrified
Yeah,
compared to when I was there. It was scary, and I
I'm
remember
sure.
I listened to a podcast with Boy George, and he lives on the street where I was. So that tells you how
Oh,
posh it is
that's
now.
wild.
Is
Yeah, that's
fucking
up.
Boy George is living there, and when I lived there, it was just like drug dealers and criminals. Like there were scary looking kids there who I thought were just going to stab me with a screwdriver. Like it was,
I
and
was there in '93, and
that's when I was there, dude. Piss
yeah, kind of
everywhere.
a
It was,
little dodgy. Yeah, it was like I said, it was like the Greenwich, the East Village, maybe even back in the day. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it
so
was,
funny.
and there was no, it was a payphone in the flat, and you put money into like you put money in for the heater. You know, it was just total. Just
So
it was a council flat, and the guy just
yeah,
leased it out to these young girls who I met, and I stayed with them, and then I flew to Milan and went to like Lake Como with a girl I'd met, and had this like romance with with a model, typical
dude. So you
thing.
were like getting a little bit of loving from the universe there, from coming from this
I
low
I,
point. Yeah.
I did things like and then I got home and was like, this is awesome. Like, cause Ian's like, you're on the firm, mate. You're back. Fast forward a year later, like they're rehearsing and I'm not in the band. Like they just got someone else. And I was working at a liquor store by this point. So I'm like, delivery guy, I'm cleaning the toilet, stocking the walk-in, and they're going on the road. And I was devastated. I was in High City Miles, which was great, but I had tasted, you know, playing velodromes and
Yeah.
soccer stadiums. I was like, and getting paid.
So
Like I want to do this.
so they just like bolted and didn't even say anything. Like, hey, like when you
I
were in the
got
band, you were a sideman, I'm assuming.
yeah. There was
Yeah.
no,
Yeah. So
but
you're a
I
sideman
was
in there, and they didn't even have the courtesy to say, "Hey, Mike, we've made some changes," or like
no.
just
They
that
they
is so
ghosted me.
fucking.
Like
Yeah,
to
that's
use this,
like so.
I
I
got
have such a
ghosted.
problem with that ghosting shit, me personally, because it's like I want to tell somebody like, "Hey, man, I just want to be open and honest with you. This didn't work out, or we're moving forward." I mean, I couldn't see. Like I'd feel incomplete if just like fuck that guy, like
I didn't.
why burn a bridge?
I was confused why I didn't get the thing because I knew that I was the right guy for the gig musically, like without question. And I know Ian and I got really close. Like I actually, when I left that thing, Ian was like, "You're the guy." So I think what happened is, they got an English guy, which Ian said to me it was Billy's decision. And I think it probably was. And Ian tends to not really, if there's confrontation, he doesn't really want to get involved. So I think, and Billy had gotten sober, kind of like in between when we played and them going out again, he got sober. And I think they didn't get a sober guy. I would have understood that a little more, but they got an English guy, and I was bummed, but I wasn't. Uh, I had to move on. So
You
like,
got over it. Yeah,
and in the end, the band I was in morphed into a band called Sucker Punch, and we got a record deal. And that was right around the time that the cult was going. So I felt like, okay, you know what, I'm making money because you get in advance. We had I had a legitimate record deal. I'm doing my own thing. So I felt like that temporary inconvenience worked out for the better, because then
sure.
I ended up making a record, with songs I helped write, and had my own thing. I was on a record. I wasn't playing someone else's songs. And then the band broke up mid-tour, those guys, the Cult. So it all kind of worked out in the end. And then Sucker Punch, that just, we went nowhere. It was one of those, you're signed to an imprint label on MCA, a new boss comes in, he doesn't want to deal with his imprint label, we're gone.
We're
So
gone. Yeah.
I was pretty crushed at that point with music, and I was like, I'm kind of done with this shit. I was like, this. So I went to Europe and stayed in Europe for like a month or so, and just kind of cruised around. And when I got back, I had a buddy who we formed a power trio that was just fun. It was just me and him and a drummer, and he got a publishing deal, and we went and played CMJ, and we did some fun kind of showcase shows, and I thought we'd actually get a deal, and it was such a fun band that I thought that would be a really fun band to get a deal with. Like there was no hassle. Everyone got along. It was a trio, which was a lot of fun. There's never that kind of like two guys versus two guys or something. that didn't get a record deal, so I was done with music. I just kind of put the guitar away. And by this point, I was really getting into running marathons. And I put all that energy for playing guitar into running marathons and trying to get. So I was an age grouper, not competitive. I mean, I got third place in a couple races in my age group, but the guy that would win, these are like the Palos Verdes Marathon. The guy who wins probably ran, 2:55, whereas people that go to the Olympics run, guys who win them run 2:01. In big.
God.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was running 3:15, 3:20. Like, so I was okay for, but I was super into it and just watching, getting as light as I could.
Is that when you first started running like that?
No, I started before my mom died. I started running in about 1990, just jogging.
Okay.
Just to kind of, I realized I couldn't like drink a ton of beers and go to Okie Dogs, and have the metabolism I had when I was like 20. So when I was like 22, I just started running and,
right.
was able, my leather pants fit like I wanted them to.
Yeah.
And I kept that up. But never really, probably did a marathon in 95, but I would do 10Ks and things. And by about 97, 98, I got more and more into them and really, really made an effort to like run them as fast as I could, for me. And I wanted to qualify for Boston. That's kind of every like amateur person's goal because there's like a graduated time for each age group. And I think for that age group, I had to run sub 3. I think I had to run sub 3:15 or sub 3:10. Maybe sub 3:10. It was kind of fast. But I was really into marathons, and my guitars were under the bed. And wow. I got a call from this guy, Julian Raymond, who had featured throughout my sort of musical career as a producer guy. And he always had these cockamamie. He loved High City Miles and Sucker Punch. He always had these cockamamie schemes, like, I'm going to get you signed to Hollywood Records. He was like the head of A&R at Hollywood. I'll get you signed to wherever. And he would call me out. So he called me out of the blue and was like, what are you doing Monday? And I was like, I don't know. It was Friday. And he goes, well, can you be at A&M Studios? Do you remember the MTV VJ Jesse Camp?
No, I don't remember that name.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He was like he was obsessed with Hanoi Rocks. He was super skinny. He had like this big haystack hairdo. And he was always like, he kind of had like a Pauly Shore thing where he'd kind of be like, hey man, like, yo, like, like this Google Jesse Camp. But he got a record deal, of course, with the Reprise, I think, like Warner's. And Julian is like, look, the Green Day producer is doing it, but he's exec producing. He thinks this thing's a joke. Can you come in and play on it? The money's really good. They're throwing money at this guy. So, and his band is terrible. So we're re-recording everything. I hadn't played guitar in like 2 years.
Yeah,
so
I was going to ask you that.
I ran down to the corner music store and bought a set of 9-gauge strings. I always play 10s, but I'm like, I need some help here. So I bought some 9s, put them on, and basically spent the whole weekend playing along to the Dolls' first album and Nevermind the Bollocks, the records that I started playing guitar with when I was 12.
That's so fun.
And I just kind of relearned how to play guitar. I mean, it was still there, but I was rusty. And I showed up Monday and, the fucking money was like triple scale. Here, what do you guys want for lunch? Blah, blah, blah. So Julian knows people, and Julian has like Paul Stanley come in one day. He's got fucking Rick Nielsen coming in. I think he got Stevie Nicks. Like, he called it. So I forget the name of the Green Day producer. Is it Guerno?
I don't know the producer Green Day.
No, Cavallo. I think it was Bob Cavallo.
Rob Cavallo.
Rob Cavallo. And then his brother is a manager.
Okay.
Like Don Cavallo or something. I don't know. I think that's it. I'm thinking of Don Novello, the guy who's Father Guido Sarducci.
From Father Guido Sarducci.
Yeah. What are you late?
Name in a while.
What are these dogs? What are you late for a nap? So Cavallo starts seeing that all these like celebrities, not me, but these like real deal like rock icons are coming down, and he gets it in his head that this Jesse Camp thing is not a joke and it's going to be huge. So he shows up, and when he shows up, I'm like, uh-oh, Julian Raymond is no longer in charge. And the first day that Cavallo's there, there's another guy playing guitar. Another rig is set up. And mine is just a half stack and a cable going into it and a Les Paul. This guy's got a pedal board, like a Soldano amp, 10 different amps. And he's kind of this like pudgy, bespectacled nerd. I mean, I'm not going to hammer the guy, but I looked like a proper rock and roll guy and played like one.
Yeah.
So this guy, I don't know. And bass player was from Huey Lewis and the News. It was not the old guy, but lovely guy who taught me how to do Nashville charts. That was a game changer. Thanks, buddy. So he's on it, and this new guitar rig is up. So we both got our guitars on. We're getting ready to do a track, and I'll never forget. Cavallo goes to whatever the guy's name was. And it turned out it was the guy who plays on all the Goo Goo Dolls records and probably played some Green Day records. Like he was his Jimmy Page ringer who would show up and play stuff.
Studio guy for sessions.
Yeah. And he goes like, hey, Pete, give me a Sex Pistols tone. And I'm thinking,
yeah, hello.
the guy steps on about 4 different pedals and switches things, goes like this, and it's just this like generic, stupid. Just the guy didn't understand that you don't just get the Sex Pistols or Johnny Thunder's tone pressing shit. Like it's like guys that think they can play like Keith Richards because they can do a drop G and have a telly. It's like, I'm gonna pride myself that I, like a blues obsessive, learning every Peter Green or Muddy Waters or Lightning Hopkins riff. I fucking studied Thunders and Jones and Ronson, all that shit, to the point where I would argue no one knows it better than I. So when this guy did that, I was like, my days are numbered, and I didn't get a call. Like that was like it was one of those like
they were so far off from you where you were coming from musically. Yeah.
It was one of those like, hey, should I leave my gear here? No, maybe you should take it home. Like oh boy, like at those auditions, should I leave my stuff here? Why don't you take it? So yeah,
just in case.
Yeah, exactly. So I was bounced off of that one, but that record came out, and I have a copy of it somewhere. And it went nowhere. And I want to say that the Jesse Camp kid was on a promotional tour, not even playing yet, and got busted giving alcohol to underage girls. Like he got Me Too'd before. Like the MTV people were like, "Oh my God, we got to pull the plug on this shit before it brings the entire empire down." So, and I don't
know how that gets in guys' heads actually. Even to maybe I'm just a weirdo. I've never when I see younger women, like even my daughters. I have a 23-year-old daughter. Like how does that? What are you going to do after after you fuck? What are you going to talk about?
How you broke a law. I mean, I was probably 27 at the time. He was probably mid-20s, maybe, this guy. But like, dude, you're an MTV VJ. Why? I mean, obviously, if someone has that predilection, that's what they're going to go for. Like, dude, there's plenty of 25-year-old women who are happy to have drinks with you and go to your hotel room. Like leave the children alone. Like the teeny boppers. And I mean, I'm sure Duran Duran, but even Duran Duran and stuff, I'm pretty sure that their road manager and stuff would be like, this is the age of consent in this state. You do not want to be in the South and be some limey whose the parents are coming after you with statutory rape charges. Like even if you have no conscience or soul, just for your the empire built on you, don't be stupid.
Yeah, of course.
And I ran into him at Irving Plaza at a Stone Temple Pilots gig in probably 1999 when I was there with the Cult, and there was Jesse Camp, and he had some new manager.
Oh my God! And you must have got to laugh at yourself. I laughed to yourself when you.
I went up to Jesse Camp. So do you remember me? And he's like, "Oh, hey man, I think you played it." And I go, and then his manager came flying over and was like, "Oh yeah, well, that whole deal with Warner's was ridiculous. We got a new thing." It was like, yeah, he's gonna be huge now. And I think
that's funny, man.
The guy, and I think he ended up with like problems and mental health issues and went missing, and like I just was curious. I wonder where that guy is now. So
wow, holy shit! Sometimes you're reflecting, like, I like my nice boring life, and it's it's like it's really no drama is good, no crazy up and downs is good, all that shit.
But I mean, the thing is though is I put this in. I have a whole bunch of notes that I came up with when I was writing my CV for you, but musicians are it's such a like fucking feast or famine, or not even feast, but it's sort of like cup of noodles or famine. that I remember getting a phone call. It never failed. I'd be mopping my floor, doing something, just thinking about like, I wonder what I'm going to do with my life. And the phone rings, and it's this guy, and he's like, "Hey, man, Julian Raymond gave me your phone number." Julian Raymond featuring again. He says, "Man, I hear you're the guy. Like, I've got this female artist, kind of Avril Lavigne, but she's not a poser like Avril Lavigne. She's the real," I'm like, whatever. So he's like, "I heard you're like the Thunders, Jonesy, Pistols, just a rock and roll hot shot guitar player in town." And I'm thinking like, man, this shit, like, so that's what we're looking for this project, man. Just someone like you. And then he pauses and goes, "So do you know anyone who plays like you who's young?"
Oh my God. Oh.
I was maybe 30.
Oh.
Dude, I looked at the phone and thought, I can't believe I've actually just heard something that I'm shocked by after all this time.
Yeah, like,
and to
what the fuck is it with these people? Why can't they just get on the phone and say, "Hey, I'm wondering if you could help me. I have an artist that's, looking for you," but unfortunately they want a younger artist, and I'm terribly sorry.
Especially the whole build up.
Like, you're the guy, blah, blah. Yeah. So like, you got someone like your brother.
Yeah.
What kind of shit is that?
And to my eternal shame and discredit, I recovered and said, "No, if I hear of anyone, I'll let you know. And if you hear of any gigs for someone my age, keep me in mind." Like, how I didn't go like, could you please give me your address so I can house and burn it the fuck down? Like,
yeah,
I ate shit because musicians, we're just so eager for a fucking gig, and that is shameful. Like, people want to.
It's not shameful, man. It's just like there's, dude, especially like post 1990, 2000, even. I mean, it's the music business went from this to this. So, I mean, like, there's no fucking shame in asking for a gig because there's not a lot of them out there. It's not like you got, you're above all these other gigs and you've turned them down.
It was just when it definitely, it kind of was one of those like reminders, like you're getting older, even though I might have been 32, it was one of those like, Jesus, I'm already put out the pasture. Younger. I know. And that was
32. That's amazing. That's like fucking sad.
So yeah, I was in the wilderness for a while, and in 2004 or 5, I had 2 roommates. We were all newly single, like divorced, or I had broken up with a girlfriend. She broke up with me, and the other 2 guys were divorced. And I'd been in bands with all these guys, but never at the same time. The one guy was from Sucker Punch, the main songwriter, other guitar player. The drummer had been in that power trio with me.
Okay.
So they were all living at my house. I had money in the bank. I wasn't working. They were paying rent. It was great. And we went down to this local new bar that opened up, and the bar manager was this beautiful woman, like beautiful. And we were all just like, oh my God. And she comes up, goes, "Are you guys in a band? You look like you're in a band." We're like, yeah, we're in a band. She's like, we'd all been in bands, and she said, "We need a band. We want to have live music. Can you play here next week?" And we're like, "Sure." And she's like, "What do you play?" And we're like, "Well, what do you want us to play?" And she's like, "Oh, just cover songs or whatever." Like, okay. And we ran home and set up our shit in the living room and came up with like kind of some cool cover songs like Nancy Sinatra, "These Boots Are Made for Walking," "Dirty Water" by the Standells, like kind of like proto punk. It threw some Tom Petty in there, just for the civilians, and we fucking played the next week, and that began a whole little like super fun. And I had kind of given up guitar again. This was another of Mike hasn't played guitar for a year, so I kind of got my chops back, and it was a power trio, and we'd play at the local pub. That was really fun because it was all just drunken Englishmen, and we learned "All the Young Dudes" by Mott the Hoople, the David Bowie song. And when we played, that's a hard song. And when we learned that,
great song,
those motherfuckers would like. Tim's like, "Dude, I can never sing the chorus." I said, "Mark my words, these Englishmen are going to hear that opening riff, and you're not going to have to sing a lick of that song.
Yeah,
because they're going to be crying in their pints because it was older guys, and they were all just like, like singing the chorus. And we just had a blast. It was like the most fun band I'd been in for ages. And I then met a woman who ended up dating our drummer, and she managed a Steve Madden shoe store in the mall. And she jokingly said, well, I'm hiring. Do you want to apply? And I said, yeah, I'll come down and apply. I've
That's
never,
so funny.
so I worked at a fucking shoe store just because I was like, I need to get out of the house. And I was just selling footwear. Like,
That's wild, man.
I was at the mall. I worked at the mall and I was like 30. This is like 2005. So I'm like 37 and I'm just kind of at the mall. And Frankie from Blondie came in to buy shoes.
That's
and he
crazy.
was like, I remember you. You're from Steve Jones's band. It's like, I need some black shoes. And like, he was, and he didn't like embarrass me that I was working at the shoe store. My manager, Sheila, who I'm still friends with, she lives in Manhattan now. Whenever we go, she comes. My employee number was 10101. So she called me 01 and her last two digits were 59, which I always thought of 59 Les Paul Sunburst. So I called her 59 and she called me 01. And she came up to me one day and just goes 01. Your fucking numbers are terrible. You got to at least try to sell some shoes because like the higher ups are like, this guy is wallowing, like get it together. And I said, okay, you know what? I said, I'm going to fucking sell some shoes like you've never seen. And I went totally apeshit and put all my energy into being the best salesperson, right?
Good for you.
And I ended up being like the regional top salesperson and got some kind of bonus. And then I immediately went back to my old ways because I was like, I've proven I can sell shoes. Now I'm going to be a deadbeat again. So
this is a one-time opportunity. That's it. Yeah, man. That's funny.
So yeah, wow. and around. So I'm sorry. You can ask some questions. I'm just caffeinated.
No. It was. How did you get the gig with Bad Religion?
Okay, that's what's crazy about that. So the cult reformed in 2006 or 7 and was going steadily, was touring a ton. And the Looters were still going. Like in between cult tours, we would play at a place that Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats was a co-owner. It was called the Cat Club, right next to Whiskey. Okay. And I think our friend Blaine, who worked for the cult's old management, he booked it or knew people. So we would go play shows there just for fun. And we got free drinks. So I was in the cult and things were, it was kind of getting, after a number of years in the cult, I would sort of reach a bit of an eddy where I was like, it's kind of the same thing. I've probably reached my maximum salary, a salary cap. It's their band. I'm never going to expand beyond playing those chords.
Cult tunes,
and I'm not going to get to kind of, but at the same time, like I got a wife and a kid. It's, it's my job, but it had become a job.
Sure.
So Bad Religion was doing like 7 nights or something at the House of Blues on Sunset when it was still there. And Tim from the Looters, that was what this cover band was called. He was friends with Brian Baker. And I knew Brian from the 80s. And he's like, oh, we're on the list. Let's go see Bad Religion down before we go play at the Cat Club. Because we played like at midnight or something. So we go down there and see Bad Religion. We go in the dressing room. We're having drinks. And Brian's like, oh, I'll come down. I'm like, yeah, great. So we get down to the show. And I'm pretty sure, oh, God, I mean, I swear that day started at like a pool party and a barbecue. Then we went to someone's birthday dinner. Then we went to Bad Religion. We go to see Bad Religion. And we get back. As I said, it was a long day. And I could be conflating different gigs by that band, by the Looters. But I do think it started with a pool party. And by now it's midnight. Oh, my God. I mean, we were surely 3 sheets to the wind. But we could play those songs blindfolded, which in effect we did. And I do remember I was told this story years later. Brian came down, and I know Greg Hetson, I'd forgotten this. Greg Hetson got up and played Blitzkrieg Bop with us. And that's the guy who I ended up replacing in Bad Religion.
Yeah, right.
So he got up and played with us. And Brian saw the band, and he told me later, he was like, I'd forgotten how well you played. Like he said, I was really impressed by your muted eighth notes, which is, that was my stock and trade in the cult and Bad Religion. But he was like, he'd known me forever because I hadn't seen you play in so long. I'd kind of forgotten because he'd seen me in the cult, but you probably couldn't even hear me in the cult. So he just was like, I kind of made a mental note of it. And then when a few years later, push came to shove and they needed another guitar player that night,
was in his head, which struck
So that
me
was
as
your
so.
audition. That was your audition that night.
And the
effectively.
hysterical thing is I know for a fact, I think I fell backwards into the drums and Tim fell forwards off the stage. Like it was,
because you guys are so lit.
Oh, it was just a complete, maybe that was a different gig where I fell backwards, but I'd like to make it that all these things happened in one night, that like Bad Religion was there. I fell backwards. Tim fell forwards. We'd, the day had started at a pool party and it was, this just epic, ridiculous, evening. But yeah, so I don't know.
After he came that night and then a year later, he gave you a call.
I'm guessing it was probably a year or so later, because I was on a bike ride. I would do a Sunday bike ride and meet my wife and son. He was tiny at the time, in Malibu at Cross Creek, and he'd play at this little park. And I would finish my ride there, and then stick the bike in the car, and we'd hang out and go home.
Sure.
I got to the playground, kind of Cross Creek, Malibu area. It's a good place for star watching too. Like if tourists want to see really cool stars, like in their element, go to Cross Creek. Like I saw Robert Duvall there.
Oh wow,
Robert Duvall. No, that's like
that's
stars.
legend. Yeah, it's a legend.
That's cool. So I had a voicemail from Brian Baker, and Brian Baker and I we never talked on the phone. We would see each other every 2 or 3 years on the road somewhere. And I'm like, to my wife at the time, I said, that's really weird. Brian Baker does not call me. And then I was on Twitter and I looked, and all of a sudden Jay Bentley from Bad Religion was following me on Twitter. And I said, something's in the air, Hillary.
Something's afoot. Yeah,
something's happening. So Brian was like, hey, give me a buzz. I'm flying to Belgium for a festival. Give me a call. This will interest you. So I eventually got in touch with him, and I actually thought what he was going to say to me was, hey, I'm going to go to rehab. Can you sit in for me for a few gigs? Instead, he's like, oh no, I went to rehab. I've been sober for a year. We need someone to replace Hedson for these immediate shows. And I'm like, oh shit, like, okay. And he said, we've got Grossa Rock or some festival next weekend. We're not going to lay that on you. But in 2 weeks, we're doing 2 radio shows in the States. Can you be ready? And we're playing for 50 minutes. I go, okay. So this was how long ago it was. I rode my bike around to bookstores and record stores to get CDs of their songs. Because I knew, I don't think I had iTunes at the time. I had no reason to. And right. Their shit was so opposite from the Cult, because the Cult was like pretty much 3 chords, D, C, and G in some permutation. And the songs were mid-tempo. And I don't mean that as an insult, but
I get
Machine,
it,
Rain, Firewoman, Coming Down, those are all D, C, and G. And you had a 1 in 3 chance of hitting the right chord. And if you hit the wrong chord, a G and a D don't sound that off. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, so if they need somebody, how do I throw my name in the hat? Because I can handle those 3 chords.
Yeah, you got Billy's email, don't you?
I do.
And as I said, they were mid-tempo. So like if you got off track, you were okay. And also I knew all the songs from hearing them at nightclubs on the radio. Bad Religion was not in my wheelhouse. I knew 21st Century Digital Boy. I knew Infected. I knew the K-Rock hits. I didn't know Suffer. I really didn't, I was more of a rock and roll guy. And I went to learn this stuff and I was like, oh man, like the songs are really complicated. Like they're songwriter songs. Like they're very, they modulate and do weird shit, and they won't modulate like a half or whole step. They'll modulate from like B to F or F sharp, let's say. Like it's like fucking Beach Boys stuff. And I was like, oh shit. And I was really freaked out. And Brian's
like, not your conventional punk sort of
no, it's not
vibe musically at all.
No, there was a lot more going on. And I said to Brian, like, dude, this stuff doesn't make sense to me. And he said, you're gonna figure it out. He said, you're going to realize there is a pattern to the songs and there are boxes and things. And as I learned more and more, I could differentiate a Brett song from a Greg song usually. And I would know where they were going to probably go. Like I could start anticipating, but they were still really complicated. And a lot of them were fast. And if you got behind, like if you missed a change, better luck tomorrow night, because you're not going to catch up. Like I would just at times have to like stop playing guitar. It was fucking humiliating. Like, I rehearsed for 2 hours with Brooks, the drummer, and Jay, the bass player, and that was it. And then I showed up and played a show in front of people, met the singer for the first time an hour before we played, had never played with Brian since High City Miles. It was the only time I've gone on stage feeling like the nightmare where you go to school and you haven't been going all year and you're at the final.
You're at the final.
And maybe you don't have your pants on. I was like, oh man, this is going to be brutal. And I would come off stage just so humiliated because I just, in the Cult, I nailed my job every night. And here I was hacking. I was really not doing, and they were all really cool. Like, you're gonna get it. It's already,
Man, but that is so cool that like their expectations were realistic. They know their music, and like they weren't expecting you to like get it day one. That's like very reasonable human beings.
I mean, I in retrospect, and this was so out of the blue for me. Like, we played, punk rock bowling or something, and this was not my circle. Like, everyone knew everybody, and I've been running around doing rock festivals. Like, so I bump into Buck Cherry, but I didn't bump into Bad Religion,
Sure.
So I didn't know NoFX. I didn't know any of these people. And I was an outsider. And I was like, and people online, there was definitely a bit of like, who the fuck's this guy from the Cult wearing white Levi's? Because I showed up with like Mick Jones' white Levi's. And somehow those got turned into white leather pants. And I assure you, I never had white leather pants like actually in Paradise City. And I wasn't doing that good of a job. And they could have probably found some dude who knew all the songs and could play them. And Brian's point was, because this was Brian's doing for the most part, was like, look, he knows how to tour. Like, he can figure this out, but he's toured for the last 20 years. You couldn't get he's our age, you probably couldn't get, this is the time where you don't want a guy like me who's young. Right. Because he hasn't been on the road for a million years and knows how not exciting it is, and isn't going to like chase underage girls or, you know what I mean? Be so excited, new guy shows up and he goes ape shit. So I think it made sense in the end that they would go with, a grizzled veteran.
How long did it take musically till you felt you were where you should be? And excuse me 1 second. I'm going to move her. She's past her welcome. Hang on.
Oh.
Come here, little girl. Nope. Sorry, man.
No problem.
How long did it take you until you were at where the point where you thought you should have been?
I did. What's so funny is the Cult was on another hiatus. Because there'd been the two guys really, it's very like Mick and Keith kind of thing. Like they really butt heads, but also, they need each other. It's like, I would say they're like Ray and Dave Davies from the Kinks. You know what I mean? Like
I saw them in concert. They were doing this on a stage, the two of them. Funny.
Or like the Black Crowes. Like, and I'm not saying that like as a slag. That's just the dynamic.
No, it's the relationship.
It's like they're the fucking yin and yang, fire and water. I was like Derek Smalls. I was lukewarm water in between them. And to go back to the Cult, I would say I played a Ronnie Wood role in that band because I was the guy in a good mood, and they both liked me, and I did my job. I would say I played better than Ronnie Wood played in the Stones. And I love Ronnie Wood, but in the Faces.
Yeah, man, I
haven't seen him in a long time, so it's hard to say. But I love Ronnie Wood. I don't want Ronnie Wood to hear this and then fucking hate me because I would love to meet him. I did meet him actually at the Guns N' Roses show. So I was like the Ronnie Wood, but they were on having another one of their kind of like cyclical kind of like we're not dealing with each other, we're not touring, and we not worked for like a year or 6 or 8 months, and I was like I got to work. So when Bad Religion came calling, there was no conflict at all. So I did 2 European tours with them that were like 6 weeks long each. And I did not tender my resignation from the Cult until the end of that second tour. So I had played with that band for like 3 months, basically.
3 months, yeah.
And I still don't think I really had it down for another few years. Like, I'm now comfortable in the band where they won't throw something at me that's not in my thing. I mean, it's fucking been 11 years. And what is so great about it is I was forced at age 40, whatever I was, to actually put my nose to the grindstone or my shoulder to the wheel, whichever it is, and fucking have to like become a better guitar player. Like, I played no solos in the Cult, and the only time I played leads or I played all the guitar was the covers band because it was a 3-piece. So that kept my chops going. That's such a cheesy word, but that kept me to where I could do more than just kind of chunk 3 chords. Like, I could have gotten really lazy and just, been on autopilot. And when I got in Bad Religion, Brian was like, okay, dude, here's like 50% of the solos that you're going to take. Cause I'm tired of playing them. And I'm like, be careful what you wish for. I'm like, oh shit. Like,
yeah.
Unfortunately I kind of, had been playing solos and all these things that I, but I had to really focus on playing guitar again. And my right hand was always good for like the chunking and the mid tempo, but I was always a shitty acoustic player. Anything that required that kind of like doon 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 kind of thing, I couldn't do it. My right hand was shit on acoustic guitar. And after a couple of years in Bad Religion, I would say I'm a pretty reasonable acoustic player in terms of my right hand is good. I mean, I'm not, there's guys who really can play acoustic, but I can fake it now. So it was really funny that I left the like arena rock band to join a punk band, and in my 50s or late 40s became a better guitar player than I'd been.
Yeah. Dude, I think that's awesome.
It was nice. Like, I can't believe that I would ever, it was like a second childhood in that, like, like, wow, I thought if anything, you kind of start, because I definitely run a lot fucking slower, but my guitar playing is better than it's ever been.
That's awesome, man.
If you don't like the way I play, then it's not going to mean anything to you. But personally speaking, I'm at the top of my game, and we finish these. We get halfway through a tours, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't believe, that it it comes back to you, and it's really fun to have fun this far along in, you know what I mean? Like, we got done rehearsing last week, and I got home and was like, because you show up, we haven't played since South America in December. You show up and you're kind of like dusting off the cobwebs, and it, within a couple of days, you're just like, God, it's so nice that it comes back.
That's great.
That it's, because I always worry sometimes one day it won't. Like,
Sure. Well, what's nice? When I was watching some interviews of you guys, I watched some older ones, which is where it must have been an older interview because you were saying how you are playing rhythm now, and you don't get to do a lot of solos. Which is where I got that.
I said that in Bad Religion.
Yeah, must have been an older interview.
I think I was joking because I got those.
He handed you 50% of the solos right away. Yeah,
it depended on the set list. There's set lists where I only have to play a couple solos, and then there are the others where Brian's like, I'm taking a night off. Like, it's not that we trade solos, but he'll write a set, or they'll write a set list. It's a flip of the coin. It just depends sometimes. And there are some nights where I'm like, oh man, like, why can't I just play the 2 solos tonight and not have to, be on form the entire fucking set, like.
But what my point is that you guys all like just seem very content, if that's the right word. It was just like the 3 of you sitting there, and it was like, it was just a nice conversation. You could tell you guys are like extremely comfortable. Nobody's like, hey, I need to talk more, or
no.
It was like just like 3 normal people.
No, believe me, they definitely, and I'll use the word pawn off. They try to pawn off things on me and Jamie, the drummer, when they can, because they don't want to have to do all the interviews. And I'm always like, you know what? They're going to ask me questions I don't know the answers for. So sorry, guys. Like, you've been in the band 42 years.
Yeah,
you got to do the interview. But
I need some help.
I did one for a Spanish thing, and it's funny. I think I spent more time. They asked me more about the Cult than they did Bad Religion. It was pretty much like, you you're playing Tsunami Rock. So the time's in the calls. And then it was all about the calls.
Did you talk in Spanish or did you talk in English?
I mean, I can get by in Spanish, but I wouldn't do an interview in Spanish.
Okay.
Because God knows what kind of, it would be a pretty basic, I'm not going to like discuss, I've discussed politics in Spanish. I was in Argentina and I stayed there for a couple weeks, and I was hanging out with this couple and they spoke no English, like just enough that if there was an impasse, but it was immersion all the way. And we were talking about the election that had just happened. We were talking about the police down there.
Oh, wow.
So it was neat that like,
you could talk that in depth. That's not like that's not normal conversational.
No, I was sort of, I mean, I don't know, maybe I hope it didn't, I don't think I would have come off so poorly that they're like, oh, Mike's a fascist, or,
no invitar next time.
Yeah. He supported, the Perón dictatorship, apparently. I did not. And I didn't see the Evita musical either.
Hey,
so
I want to ask you a question about your gear.
Okay.
Talk gear for a few minutes. What's your go-to guitar now? What other two might round out your top three?
None of them are with me here. When I joined Bad Religion, I had a custom shop, like their 58 TV model. And I started playing that in a cult because they had a manager that was like, you can't play a Les Paul while Billy plays a Les Paul. Wow. And the manager had all sorts of interesting musical ideas. So I was like, I'll play an SG. I don't care, but I'm not going to go buy one. So I had a kind of a cool white SG custom maybe that I was playing for a long time that I liked. But I didn't own that. And at some point they came out with like the custom shop TV model reissues. And I'd always wanted one, like a Johnny Thunders, the yellow double cutaway. And I'd owned a double cutaway red one back in high school that I sold, of course. So I started playing that junior. And when I joined Bad Religion, I had that one. And I was so used to the P90 and the one pickup that I couldn't go back to a Les Paul. I didn't like the sound.
Okay, talk to me about that. What is the difference between a one pickup and a two pickup? Let's talk about specials then, because you got like a one pickup junior versus a two pickup special.
Okay, well, the humbuckers and the P90s are a whole different beast. Like a P90, I believe the volume control works well, whereas I think with a humbucker they sound good on 10, and other than that they sound thin and crappy. I find them too linear. I like the P90.
I love P90s, man. Love them.
Has Charlie Starr been on your show?
Yes.
He has the theory that the two pickups don't sound as good because there's some like magnetic interference between the two pickups, and you just don't get like the same ballsy sound.
As you do when you just get the one P90.
Yes. And there's an argument. And P90s, the soap bars, I believe, sit farther down into the body. But I have a late 1959 Junior that has the dog ear cover, but apparently, actually it's a 58. At some point they ran out of the dog ear pickup that has the little, the
little flap.
The dog ears, yeah, and that attaches to the top of the body and you screw it in. The 4-digit 58s, if you take the cover off, they just have a soap bar in there without the little, why am I forgetting the brackets? And they basically have like a wooden shim and then just one screw and then the P90 dog ear cover on top. So that guitar sounds amazing, and it's not a dog ear P90, it's a soap bar. Okay. So, but it's one pickup. So once I got into Bad Religion, Brian and Jay are gear nerds, and I was not a gear nerd. I was kind of like, I got my one or two juniors. That's all I need. And a cable. And at some point we were on Brian collects old guitars, and I think he switched over to juniors. He started playing single cuts. We agreed, I get the double cut, he gets the single cut.
Okay.
And he was kind of like, I think a bit shocked that I showed up with no effects pedals and just this one pickup guitar and a bicycle. I think he was like, this sure looks simple. And I think he wanted to begin simplifying his life. And I want to say within a year or so, his pedal board was gone. And he started playing a junior. And Brian doesn't do things in half measures. He was buying custom shop specials and stuff. But then he started buying vintage ones because they were a lot more affordable 9 years ago. They were cheaper.
Yes.
And you could buy a junior for $5,000, $3,500, you know? And he started showing up with some, and I'm like, I need to get into the vintage wars and get myself a vintage guitar. And I'd taken out a home equity loan to improve some stuff on my house. And I earmarked a little chunk of money to get myself a junior. And I had a buddy who works for Sheryl Crow and has worked for Doyle Bramhall with Clapton. Yep. And he works with Billy Gibbons right now, lovely guy. He knew a place in St. Paul. He goes, they've got a double cut junior. It's a killer price. It's a player guitar. It's got Grovers. You know, it's not been repaired, but it's beat up. It's great. And I got that for a screaming deal.
That's great.
And it was so nice. I mean, it played great. It had a big fat neck. And then
it's funny how you love those big fat. You must have long, slim fingers, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I just like. Yeah. They just feel better. Yeah. They're just. I mean, I'll play a skinny necked one, but I know that the one I had in high school had to have been a 60 or a 61, and the neck was really thin. And if you played like an open G and walked, the neck, it was like an SG, you know, it would, if you moved around, it shifted, you know, and you could go like this and bend the fuck out of it.
Yes.
So, and I was 17. I hadn't figured out P90s yet. So when we would go on the road, I started looking at Craigslist and shit in local parts of town. And Brian always loves going to music stores. And we were in Edmonton somewhere, and their Craigslist or their
whatever it's called.
It's called like Injiji, or it's got some really wacky,
something like that. Yeah.
Like Ninja something. Yeah. I want to say Injinji, but that's a kind of running sock. But it's a weird name. So I was looking up, and there was a store that had a repainted 58 Junior that was repainted like off-white, which is the perfect color because that's the Steve Jones Sex Pistols guitar, but it's a Johnny Thunders Jr. And you could tell it had been painted years ago because the paint was chewed up. And I called them and said, hey, we're in town in Calgary. Can we come look at it? And I threw like the Bad Religion thing just to kind of see if maybe they'd bring it down or something. But they were like, come on down. So we went down to the shop, and they had a couple juniors actually, and they had this one. And we looked at it, and Brian took the cover off, and he kind of pulled me aside. He said, this, because it'd been repainted, and the serial number was different, and it had probably been red at one point in TV yellow, but it was originally red. But he pulled me aside. He said, this is definitely a real Gibson, even though, you know, it's had a new decal put on. He said, because it has a soap bar in it. And there was a thread on the Les Paul forum where guys talked about they had 58s that they were worried were fake. And then about half a dozen guys were like, no, my 4-digit serial number has a P90 in it. It's soap bar. They must have run out, and they just went and grabbed those and put a fucking popsicle stick in there and shimmed it.
Sure.
So he goes, this is real. But he wanted to see if it had neck repairs. So there was like a porn shop next door, like one of those like dirty magazine places. And they had the blue light because it was like a strip club or something. It was like a porno strip club. So we took the guitar over there and put it under the blue light, and you could see it had a headstock repair, which was fine. And it had Grovers on it and God knows what. But you
get original. Those much cheaper when they've had a headstock repair, man.
I mean, I'll say this one out loud. I paid 3,500 Canadian for it, which was like $3,000
for a 58.
No, but that was also 8-9 years ago. You know, they went crazy. I know that I was in Mike's Music, I think it is in Cincinnati. With the Cult in 2008. I know this for a fact. And I had money to burn. We didn't have a kid yet. And we didn't, 2009. So I had money to burn. I'm like, I'm going to go buy a junior. I want to buy a new guitar today. I'm going to go buy a used junior, maybe a TV model. And I figured they'd be $3,000-$4,000. This was 2008. A fucking red junior that had had a Bigsby pulled off of it and had faded to a weird color was like $11,000. That was the crazy spike. And
Wow.
then they went down, and there definitely was a dip in the market right about when Brian and I started getting in there. And I bought the red 59 that's original for not much more than I paid for the white one.
That's cool.
So those are, the white one became my go-to. And I think, I don't remember why. It has a different neck. It's a little skinnier of a neck, but I like the color of it. Even though it's not original, it was painted so long ago that it's like really yellow. And it looked enough like a TV model to me. Most people thought it was, but it didn't have that translucent, TV finish, but it's so yellow at this point that it looks yellow. And then when I finally got a TV model just a few months ago, if you put them next to each other and take an Instagram photo, they look like the same guitar. It's like
you did that. I saw that, and it did look like
it looked pretty close.
Yeah, look really close. So wait a minute. Okay, so all right, 2 questions. So the biggest difference I'm good because I don't have a special, or excuse me, a junior. The juniors with have the one pickup, specials have the 2, correct? Okay, so I have a special. It's an Eastman, but it's effectively a Les Paul special. What is the biggest sonic difference I'm going to see with the one? I'm always so used to having 2 pickups. It's more like I'm not close to the idea of having one. It's something I have never had before.
I mean, obviously, you don't have the neck pickups. You don't have, if you want that warm, that like American Woman intro solo thing or Sweet Child of Mine or whatever. But you also can just turn the tone knob down on a one pickup. I just think, I mean, I do have, this is my home guitar. Get over here. I bought this and got it repainted before I got the other one. I got it repainted like Polaris white.
Right.
It was a TV yellow, but it was Gibson Custom Shop only now has gotten a TV yellow right. When I bought it, it was like almost like a natural wheat color, which is the color of like a 54 single cut before the TV color existed really. I've now seen that they finally got them with a tortoiseshell pickguard, the proper yellow, but I think they're $8 or $10,000.
TV yellows are beautiful guitars, man. I mean, just the color is like,
it's hard to get done, but I think the custom shop things cost almost what a real one cost a few years ago. Like, I think they're $8,000 now.
No, it's not. I'd have to. I wouldn't. I'm not a professional guitar player, so I couldn't. So
that money
on it. Yeah.
But that guitar I have used on tour. Like I took it out for a couple of years probably, and it didn't sound as ballsy as the single cut. It just, I know that's
really?
not. It lacked. It just doesn't have like that groan that the junior has. I mean, these aren't very scientific terms.
No, but that's okay. I mean, music is not like, you can't explain this stuff like, well, the frequency, the hertz are 40 microns lower, so that's, of course you're going to hear the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have. And also, it's been so long now that I'm so used to just really having the one volume knob to deal with, that the pickup selector is a pain in the ass. I do find I have kind of like devolved. If my guitar playing has gotten better, I will say that my skill navigating around a 2 pickup guitar with the knobs and the toggle switch has suffered. Like, I definitely am like, oh, this is too much to deal with. Like if I played a show with one, I'd probably bang the thing off by accident, or flip it to the neck pickup, and all of a sudden it would be like,
And so the other question is, what's the difference between the double cutaway and the single cut? Is there any difference there, or is that just an aesthetic preference? You like the doubles?
I like it because that's what Johnny Thunders had, and I do think they look cooler.
Okay.
I would love to own a single cut TV model because they really do look beautiful.
Oh,
but we made the choice. Like, Brian was like, I'm not going to go into the double cut world, and I'm not going to like when that TV model showed up in Cleveland, if I didn't buy it, he was going to buy it. And if he bought it, he was going to probably be hard pressed to not want to play it on stage. And I would be looking over at that guitar like, you stole my girlfriend. Like the girl I've been dreaming about for my entire life, and you met her, now you're with her. And I had the chance, so I had to buy the guitar.
What a great analogy.
I would have probably just been looking over the resentful every day, and then maybe I could have guilted him enough that he would sold it to me. But that was what the hell was my point on that one?
Double cut versus single. You just prefer the double.
Yeah, I just like the aesthetic look, and that was, I mean, and the neck joints aren't as good, I mean, the neck joints are really good, but you're probably more likely. The old specials have a horrible neck joint, and you're almost never going to find one that doesn't have a heel break, which is bad.
Right.
Like those, you break that, and that's a lot of repair, like knowledge has to be taken to get that done right. My custom shop, actually, I broke the headstock off that one, actually. I think I put that on Instagram. Not one of my old ones, thank God, but I had moved the guitar, and that was my guitar I played at home, the one I played through the Cult and early VR. And there'd been kind of some drama where there was like a family member in the hospital, and I had to spend time in the hospital. So I ran and just grabbed some socks and moved the guitar from where it normally lives. And then fast forward a week or so, everything is good. And I'm picking my son up at school, and it's like, hey, Dad, can we go get barbecue? So I'm going to take him to the barbecue joint he likes. And his mom was out of town, so I was going to go stay at the house with him. So I had to get a backpack and just throw some clothes in it. But I'd kind of forgotten in the total craze of driving to the hospital that I had moved that guitar. So it was in a place I wasn't used to it. And I'm in a bit of a rush because the kid's waiting in the car. So I run, and I'm just going to yank my knapsack out from where I store it, kind of behind like a dresser. And as I pull it out, my elbow goes back, and I feel it bump something. And the minute it bumped something, I knew what it was, and I turned around. And I saw the junior just hit the deck, and the headstock just went like it shot off like those little like Nerf guns that kids shoot. But of course the strings didn't let it just fly like under the coffee table. It just went and I saw it, and I was like, fuck. Like it had been a hell of a week. Like long story short, our son was in the hospital for like 5 nights. It was
oh wow.
Talk about gratitude and the whole thing. Everything's fine, but it was like a weird. You can get myocarditis, which you get a virus that sits on your heart, and then your heart gets inflamed. I knew athletes that got it. Like it's kind of a thing that endurance athletes get, but 15-year-old kids don't get. So it was a weird. But he's good and everything's good.
He's okay now, right?
But it was definitely some scary nights. Like not anything you want to deal with. So I was so fucking frazzled that when the headstock came off the guitar, I wasn't surprised I bumped into it. And I just thought, like, put your money where your mouth is. It's a fucking guitar. It didn't look like a bad break. I've broken one before years ago. They fix them. It's not your kid, like I'd made so many deals with the universe in the hospital that like, if the broken guitar is like,
if that's your price, no problem. Yeah.
No, I would have biblically chopped the guitars into kindling wood, and thrown them into the fire if Job, if the Lord had asked me to. So I was annoyed for about 2 minutes, and I walked back out to the car, and then we went to the rib place. And as soon as we sat down, we had an earthquake. We had I think it was 6.8.
What a week!
And I was like, God damn. And you know what? The guitar probably would have fucking fallen out of the stand anyway during the earthquake.
Holy crap.
So that's getting repaired now. Keith Nelson turned me on to LA Guitar Repair.
Okay, cool.
It's down there. So,
all right. So one more question about all these. I bought a special, a TV yellow special, I don't know, 2 years ago. And it had the old school bridge in it, right? And the fucking thing wouldn't stay. And this is a brand new guitar. I mean, it literally wouldn't stay in tune to the point where like I gave it back to the shop, and they had tried to fix it 2 or 3 times. And finally I go, and the guy goes, look, I'm just going to give you your money back. This thing is not staying in. I mean, I didn't even ask for it, He goes,
really?
This thing is not staying in tune. He goes, yeah. So now I'm always wary about if I don't have some sort of a proper, like a stop tail bridge or something, that I got to worry about that. Well, how do I if I'm buying it sight unseen, what do I do?
I would say, because Brian and I have talked about this, because I'm old school in terms of like, I don't think the Les Paul has been improved upon since 1958. And I only say 58 because that's when the double cut started. Like, honestly, the stop tail piece wraparound with a P90 that happened in 54. nothing after that's happened to Gibsons I care about. Like, I know that sounds really stupid, but the Tune-O-Matic I have no interest in. The humbucker now I have no interest in. I mean, I play those guitars now and again, but I would say when a guitar doesn't stay in tune, a lot of people blame the tuning pegs. Tuning pegs just allow a more like you told me to.
What's that?
Oh, my phone rang, and I told me to turn that off, and I didn't. So
no worries, man. Yeah, it didn't.
Countdown. Okay, good.
We're fine. But yeah. Thank you.
So like the old, like little, the Clisson pegs or the little white ones, the ratio isn't as good. So it's a little harder to dial it in, but they don't slip. I would say if a guitar's in the same tune, sometimes it's a nut issue. I think like I think, and Brian could speak more to this, or Craig Nelson, I'm sure, but from what I've heard, I think sometimes they don't cut the nuts as well. Like the actual just quality control is not that good.
Yeah.
So the strings kind of, they'll ping, they'll jump. You could put graphite, or I think there's stuff called nut lube. But I think it's called nut lube. You could put that in there. I don't believe tuning pegs are an issue, and a tailpiece should not cause a guitar to slip out of tune. I know guys like to argue that the wraparound does not, because it's compensating. You dial in the high and low E, and then you just hope for the best on the rest. I have never had a problem with any of that. I pride myself in that I can play guitar in tune anywhere on the neck, and I'm not playing bar chords at the 12th fret, which I do sometimes, but I'm not playing in high A like this.
Yeah.
And if you're playing single notes and things, you're intonating it with your fingers and your ear. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't, and I also, because they do make all sorts of amazing wraparound replacements.
Yes.
Like I think is there like a Mojo Axe one or a Pigtail? These different things.
There was these guys switched his people. They put on 3 separate ones, and none of them would stay in tune. So I'm just thinking, listen,
but
man,
it was
shitty fucking quality guitar.
Would it just not stay in tune, or would it just not intonate well?
It did not stay in tune or intonate well, and that's why the guy was like, "Look, I'm just going to give you your money back. I can't expect you," because he had the guitar for the first 2 months. I didn't even play it.
I mean, there are just dog guitars. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, it could have been a lemon.
I'm trying to think if I've ever had I've had a guitar that was a lemon and it didn't sound that good, and it fucking must have weighed like 16 pounds. It was a gold top from 79 or something, and it had P90s. It was really heavy and just didn't have a good tone to it. And I traded that. I got rid of that one. But I don't think I've ever had a guitar that, I had a white Les Paul Custom, like the Sex Pistols one, and it actually wasn't that good. It was probably 74, and I wish I had it just because it was kind of cool, but I recall maybe it didn't stay in tune all that well. It didn't sound that good. It was just sort of.
So it sounded like it just could have been a lemon more than like a problem that I need to be wary of moving forward.
I've never had. I mean, I own a couple of the Billy Joe Armstrong guitars. I got a couple off Gibson in the day, and that is the truest version of a Junior now, because they were like $900. Like they actually were kind of honoring what a Junior was in the day, which was an affordable guitar, because a custom shop Junior is not affordable, and a vintage is definitely not affordable.
Yeah.
And the Billy Joes are like $2,000 now, but that was a good guitar. I mean, I own a couple and have used them, just doing little like gigs on the side and stuff, or playing them at home, and they're solid guitars. So, and that is their, they're made in USA, but it's, it was a list price $1,100 guitar, which for Gibson was pretty cheap at the time.
As a new guitar, hell yeah.
Yeah, and they were really good, and I think people got hip that they were pretty good, and because I think they're at least $2,000 now, which a custom shop Junior in the day was a couple grand. I don't know what they are now, but they're not that cheap. So I think you might have just have gotten a dog.
That's what it sounds like.
Because the Billy Joes were good. I don't think they sound as good as my old ones. And I mean, obviously I would be inclined to want that to be the case, because they cost 10 times what a Billy Joe costs, and you're hoping,
hell yeah.
If you can't tell the difference, like, maybe the Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah.
But those are good guitars. I mean, you might have just gotten a dog.
It could have just been a dud. That happens. I mean, for the guy to him to take it, for the owner to proactively say, "Hey, listen, I'm just going to give you your money." I didn't even, I was getting close to being there, but he's like, "Let me just give you a refund because I can't have you like, I've had the guitar longer than you." And I was like, "Okay, cool. He's doing the right thing. Awesome."
Oh wow. Well, good. Well, that was good of him. And that was that a Gibson, or was that a different?
That was a Gibson Les Paul special. It would have with the 2 pickups, the 2 black pickups, P90. The good thing about that is that turned me on to P90s. I'd never played them before, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm in love. I wish this thing would stay in tune." And then I got.
Is it a double cut or a single?
It was a single cut.
They loaned me one that I kind of had around the house for a while that I was hoping they would just forget about, but they didn't. And it was good, but you get kind of spoiled that where it's like, if it looks new, like I don't want an aged one, but if it looks new, then I'm like, oh, it's new, like.
Who doesn't feel good? It's like the Christmas morning, man. You get a guitar and it's like awesome. Who doesn't,
No, it's always fun to have. Like
it's awesome. How many experiences you get when you're like, I just turned 60. So it's like, yeah, I'm up for that.
I mean, when I found that TV model in Cleveland, we strung that fucking thing up and cleaned it, and there was no way I wasn't playing the whole show with it. Like, that's awesome. Like intonate it the best you can and let's go. And I was actually really itching to go down to where all the stuff's stored and maybe bring it to my place, because I only played it for the last week or two of the tour, and then it went away, and I was like, oh man, and I'll tell you what, I think if I had it here, it would have been on that stand, and that would have been the guitar
that would have been the one that broke. Oh my God.
If that had broken, I would have been crushed, because it's a little beaten up, but it's not had a headstock repair. And I would, if possible, I don't want to break the headstock off that guitar.
Yeah.
That would turn really, that would knock a few bucks off what your guitar is worth. Not that I want to sell it, but I don't know.
But you don't want to damage your asset either.
No. That would have made that week been like, oh God.
Yeah, it was a tough week for you as it was, it sounded like, man.
Yeah. Just a guitar.
Mike, top 3 Desert Island discs. No particular order, and just for right now, because obviously this changes all the time.
I'm going to go, of course, never mind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols.
Right.
I wish I could put Johnny Thunder's Heartbreakers LAMF on there, but I'm not going to, because I need diversity. I want Otis Redding's Greatest Hits.
Great album.
And ABBA Gold.
Interesting. I've had several players mention that.
Because what if someone else ends up on the island? You can at least have like a dance party with ABBA.
That's funny. I have to tell you, I know the Sex Pistols only played 12 shows. Ironically, they played in. My wife grew up in this little tiny town in England.
I've heard this.
Yeah, called Dunstable, and one of their shows was in either the Dunstable Cali or the Dunstable Civic Center. I couldn't believe it. It was so funny. I don't think she was into them.
Wasn't it like the Sex Pistols on tour secretly? Like it was when they did, like I think a secret. They were doing a tour when they had Sid, but they'd been banned everywhere, so they'd play.
Was that what it was? It was just, I didn't know the backstory to it.
I think that's the one they played like really, really under really funny names, but they would kind of like let people know that it was,
hey, we're coming to town. It's us.
I think one was called Acne Rabble, which I thought is really funny. And then one was called like a band of international renown, and it was the Pistols. Yeah, playing
That's
like
funny.
Wales.
But it's this tiny little, and I've talked to like 3 or 4 like Ian Pace from Deep Purple goes, oh yeah, we Richie and we opened up our career there. Andy Powell from Wishbone Ash, they played there at this time. Actually, Andy Powell's wife is from that little town too, which is really bizarre. But it's just crazy how this little town had all these, back in the day, all these great acts coming there. It's just very random.
I think in England, I've only played like the obvious stuff. You know what I mean? Like I've never been in a pub band where you would play Dunstable, or I'm trying to think of some.
Dude, you'd never go to Dunstable. Almost like you don't get there willingly. It's not like, hey guys, we got a gig in Dunstable. No, it's like, oh, we got a gig in Dunstable.
I've been to the Moors. I've been to Ilkley and Otley. And I'm sure bands play there.
Yes.
But yeah, I just, I'll play like if we go to Bristol, that's always I really like Bristol actually, but like it's always going to be like Leeds. I've never played Liverpool. I have never fucking been to Liverpool.
Oh, interesting.
It makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been to Leeds and Birmingham and all the other things, but how do we get on the topic of England? They're not metric either. They're a mix.
I was talking about my wife at the Sex Pistols, because every time I mean, it's just like you haven't been to her town. It's like stepping. Let me just say this: growing up in New York City, when I went to a town like that, it was like stepping back in time.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Because I remember when we were dating, and when I first went over there in '93, she goes, "Oh my God, the new Tesco's open," and I'm like, "Okay."
they have a Tesco at least. I mean,
yeah, right. But they got one. It was like this big, like the fucking Statue of Liberty's open or something. It was just like really funny. It was kind of cute. Just the perspective is different.
Well, I love that. I'm a huge like Spanophile. I don't think that's the right word. I don't know what it'd be, but where you're in Spain and it's like, hey, guess what? It's the weekend. Shops are closed because people are with their families. Like you don't get to buy everything you want 7 days a week. Like you need to plan ahead. And I love that. Like just the family aspect. In Mexico too.
Is that culture that it's not all focused on commerce 24/7.
No, it's siesta time. It's
family time.
Yeah. And it's sort of like it's Sunday. You should be hanging out with your family. I mean, I get obviously not everyone has family to hang out with or have things to do, but you are on the road, and it's kind of, I always find it the fun challenge where you're kind of like, hey, while we're here and they've got the supplies you want, get it now, because you might be in Saarbrücken, Germany on a Sunday, and it's not impossible that, the Aldis and stuff, they're always open, but you plan ahead. It's not like America where it's fucking 24 hours, 24/7 truck stop.
Yes.
And I can buy, I can buy like hunting supplies and clothing and, and food. It's just like,
and you order in the morning and they're in your house at 4 p.m.
That I'm not an Amazon guy.
That I know shit is like bizarre. Yeah.
Like how the fuck does that, like, I'm going to be that guy. When I would order models or army men, it was fucking 6 to 12 weeks. And it would take 12 weeks sometimes. You'd look in the mailbox every day and you finally would have just been like, it's not coming.
Yeah.
Did they cancel the check? You'd have to go, Mom, could you go look and see if the money order went through? And now it's just like,
it's too much a little bit. Yeah. I'm with you on that, man.
I mean,
I have a granddaughter. She's 10, and it's really sad because I see her expectations of how life should move. It's to me, it's like you're breezing through life, man. You got to but you can't tell a 10-year-old to slow down. It's like telling a 13-year-old, hey man, there's this thing called an IRA, and if you save money in it, blah blah,
right,
they're just gonna be like, what? It's like, but it is different. Most important lessons that you've learned from getting older, Mike?
Honestly, probably not future tripping too much. I mean, I spend a lot of time worrying about crap, and we might have talked about this maybe when we chatted when we were working this out, where I had a couple friends who I ran into whose lives, like I would have always considered them more successful than I. Like they had bigger gigs. The other guy had ran a whole kind of, hotel, restaurant, spa, whole thing, was, a very successful restaurant manager, GM guy, had a condo and a, nice car and made good money and had expendable income and could take off to Nice if he wanted. And the other guy was in, bands that he had gigs that I was like, those are bigger gigs than I have. And in the space of a week, I had one of them show up at my doorstep, just like homeless and broke. And then
God,
he stayed with me for about a week, but I was like, I can't help you out. Like, you got to go.
Yeah.
And a few days later, my other buddy, he sent me a text like, hey, do you want to hang out? And I knew he was kind of like, things were not going well for him. And I was like, I said to myself, I don't think I can hang out with him, because I just had my other friend who's in just a shit storm. and I can't help this guy. And I'm really close to this one guy. And I just done like a 4-hour bike ride. And it was like August or something, or September. It was fucking 120 out. And I was just shattered after this ride. And I sent him a screenshot of the temperature and just said, like, dude, I'm fucked. Like, let's take a rain check. And he's like, no worries. And that was a Monday or Tuesday, and he died on Thursday. Like, he fucking OD'd on fentanyl, like I guess people are wont to do these days. So that, to answer your question, like, not like boohoo for me. It was like, you know what, dude, I'm not gonna worry about really anything at this point. You know, it's like, if you're a little stressed about money, well, everybody is. And, you know, I got, you know, a tour's coming around the corner. If that fucking driver wants to cut me off in their car, and I'm in my car, not on my bike, because I still fucking get pissed about that. But I just took the thing of like, nothing's going to fucking ruffle my feathers. Good. So that would be, but sadly it took two friends, you know, kind of coming to grief for me to realize, like, dude, like,
perspective.
You know, and it sounds very, I'm not going to have one of those fucking plaques on the wall that says gratitude and like live, love, you know, with that
hashtag
that fucking,
blessed.
that fucking cursive writing, like, but I saw them and like, God damn it. You know, I am going to be happy for the roof over my head.
Yeah.
Your kid's health. And then when the little kid health scare happened, you're like, oh, do I really need the universe to fucking test this one too? Like, I'm grateful enough. Could you stop with these tests?
Yeah.
But that's not how things work, obviously. So I would, but I couldn't.
So being in the present, being more in the present.
Yeah. Just like the guitar headstock broke off. So what? You're having barbecue with your kid and you're having a laugh about the modern country songs that they play in the barbecue place that are so bad that we just laughed that all the songs are about, I just need a truck, a gun, and a good woman and my whiskey. Like, they really are. Like, my kid's 15. He's like, it's always about drinking a cold one and my good woman and my pickup truck. I'm like, yeah, that seems to be.
Best decision you ever made?
Oh. I don't know. I mean, probably crashing that Steve Jones audition in terms of a career move.
Yeah,
would be that.
Awesome.
It's probably kind of trite to say like having a child, but that definitely was not something that was on my docket. I was like, you know, I just was like, why would I ever have a child? You know, like that. It just seemed that would be complicating my life and all that. And it does change your life and make you a different person, and you get a sense of something larger than yourself. I think it took me a long time for me personally, once my kid got older and they're becoming like, because when they're little babies, they're kind of like a dog or a cat. You know, they're only a dog or a cat is only going to get so smart, and then they're kind of done.
Yeah.
But then they get to the age, if your dog all of a sudden was like, hey, I want to get barbecue, you'd be like, holy shit, my dog's talking to me. This is interesting. And then they get smarter, and eventually your dog is like, you're talking to your dog like up here. Yeah. So that to me was what was so cool about a kid. Like I changed diapers and did all that. That was my job. I was the night nurse. But they were really, you know, they're cute and fun and do cute things. But it's when they start turning in, you know, I had a friend say, dude, your son's going to become your buddy. And he's like, it's so fun. And I kind of just was like, oh, it's just this cute little thing running around. And then they do get to a point where they'll have, they'll comment on something that you maybe didn't, you know, they'll have an insight to something and you realize, oh, wow, this is a fully forming, you know, intelligent being that can actually add stuff, you know? Right. And it's because before they were, and I don't mean it to be crass, but they're kind of like a pet prior to that. They're just a cute.
No, well, it's just one way. Care goes one way. Relationship goes one way. Conversation goes one way. Yeah, for sure, man.
I mean, your dog makes you feel good.
It's a lot of work. Your kid doesn't. Your dog will at least appreciate that you feed him. Your kid's like, you know, doesn't for a while, and until they're much older and out of the house. Once they're out of the house, you see even a bigger change, because that's when they start saying, you know, you're pretty smart, Dad. And all of a sudden you're like, what? Wow.
Oh, I know. Everything my dad said to me, because I was always, he wasn't like super into the musical career, and he'd kind of give me these, you know, sort of hoary expressions like, you know, once you hit 40 or once you have a kid or, you know, time. And I'm like, oh my God, he was fucking right. Like, You're just like, God damn it. Like,
It's a lot of work having a kid, man. It's a ton of work. That's, to me, it is anyway. All right, tough question. What do you like most about yourself?
I think I would like to think I'm empathetic, that I can try to, put myself in someone else's shoes and not, I don't know. Or I could come up with something a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? Less heavy duty. I think, I mean, I'm a good traveler. I don't know if that's that's not like a super deep down thing, but I do think that I've managed to take all the years of travel and really appreciate other cultures.
Yeah,
there's cultures I appreciate more than others. There's some places where like you go tour and you're like, oh, this will be whatever, but I love that adventure. I think I'm not.
What's your favorite place you've traveled?
I put it like this: anywhere they speak Spanish or Portuguese, I tend to love. Yeah. I love it. I love Portugal. I love Brazil. I love Argentina, Chile. I love Spain and Mexico. I had the fantasy of like decamping to Spain or maybe Portugal, because it seems that's where everyone's going, but I don't speak Portuguese.
I went to Portugal once years ago. Porto?
Man, I stayed in Porto for a couple of weeks.
Fucking gorgeous. Just everything about it. The architecture, the food. I'm not even a foodie, but the food there was just off. The fresh fish, the bread, it was off the charts. Phenomenal, man.
Probably about 10 years ago with the cult.
Beautiful.
And I spent a night or two and I was like, this is amazing. I got to come back. Right. And then I was there summer before last, and we had a second tour that was going to happen in Europe. So I just stayed. Right. And I did like 3 weeks with my son. We traveled all around Spain and everything.
Oh, that's great.
So then I went to Croatia because I had a friend there and I was just going to cool my jets, and I had to get out of the Schengen countries. Like if I stayed in the EU proper, I would overstay my visa. And then when we did the second tour, I would be fucking illegal. So I went to Croatia, and all my bike racer friends go to Croatia. It's not part of the Schengen agreement. So I stayed there for a couple of weeks. Then our tour got canceled because there was like someone else had a family emergency. And I went to Porto and stayed there for like 10 days. It is so much more crowded and busy than when I thought it was 10 years ago.
I'm not surprised, man.
It was high season, dude. It was like, but anywhere where they speak those languages, particularly Spain, I just see the old dudes wearing their hats. They have those big like Basque berets.
Yeah.
They're playing like petanque or bocce ball. They're drinking always some kind of clear, probably some kind of pastis type of thing, and smoking. And I will, if I make it that far, I'm going to go there. My Spanish is good enough. I'm going to learn whatever that sport is. I think it's petanque. That's the French one. I'm going to smoke. I'm going to start smoking, and I'm going to drink that pastis and like play dominoes and stuff with the old guys. I'm going to try to get in. They may not let me in. They'll be like, "Who's the Yankee?"
People are generally pretty welcoming, man. If you're not,
they're fucking. No, they're great there. They're so excited. You speak Spanish. They're like, "Why would you speak Spanish?" I'm like, "Well, because I live in what was Mexico. Like, I should speak Spanish," and it's fun. So yeah, I love Spain. And I'm trying to plan a trip there after our European tour, because we finish in the Basque Country, which is its own whole separate thing. I won't call it Spain. So,
a couple more questions, man, and thank you so much for your time. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, Mike, and has that change been intentional, or has it been a natural part of aging?
Probably both. It all probably goes back to the same thing where I have mellowed, but definitely it kind of took those couple of my friends where I really was like, okay, there's no need to worry about, my grandma was always like, don't cross that bridge till you come to it. And I tend to catastrophize things and think about, what's going to happen if this happens. And as you get older, it's just like, man, that's a road to just driving yourself completely nuts, just sort of.
And none of it ever happens the way it's in your head anyway.
No. And it's just, if you're worried about money, like you're going to work and make some, it's not the last dollar bill that's ever printed, Things tend to work out. You just kind of, and you get older and you're definitely less concerned with others' opinions, for sure. Not that you just run around being a raving asshole. It's more just like, you know what, I think I've got this one right.
That's the number one answer that I asked that question. That's the number one answer. Less concerned of what other people think about me.
Yeah, because I've listened to a bunch of shows, and that's right. You get older and you kind of give less of a fuck.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
you should.
Yeah, and you realize like you obviously want to like leave something for your children, but if you amass all this shit to make yourself happy, it doesn't go. You can't take it with you. I mean, even the Pharaohs. I could take all my nice vintage guitars with me, but they're just going to be in the sarcophagus. Like let the kids sell them and go buy a fucking house or whatever. Like, you really realize it's such a like a rat on a wheel. Like it's nice to have like a nice life and things, but man, it just really is I drive around. I have a 2001 Nissan Xterra. It's fucking still going. The AC is starting to go. I got to get that worked on, but it's winter. But when I see people driving around in like a G-Wagon or, I have friends that are car heads and they love their car and that's kind of their vintage guitar. And I have no problem with that, but I don't know why you would need a G-Wagon or, I mean, I don't know what those cost. I mean, if I had $150,000 to spend on a car, I would go buy a Subaru Outback and then go buy a bunch of fucking vintage guitars that will appreciate or just not spend the money. Like I know.
It's a lot of, I know I'm the same way. If I have that much money in a car, I'm going to buy a rental property and a car,
I mean, I live in LA and we get a bad rap, but I mean, we have great nature and we have an ocean. You can ski. We got everything within an hour, but I do have to look at I drive my kid to school and the cars the kids are parking in the lot. I'm like, wow, like I just don't know why a parent would give a kid a Tesla.
I got to tell you this story. God's honest truth. My wife knew this family when my daughter Sam was in middle school. They bought their kid a brand new BMW when he was 15. And they didn't want to 16's driving license here. They didn't want to wait. They didn't want him to have to wait when he turned 16. God forbid the little spoiled brat would have to wait until he, now I'm 16. I got to wait for the car. So they had it waiting from his 15, 2 months after he's 16, he crashed this shit.
Oh.
What did they do? They buy him another one.
Oh,
I'm like, what the fuck are you teaching your kid? Like, what coping skills are you giving him?
I don't
get that. My kids I didn't buy them any of them a car. I told them when they were like young kids, I said, hey, we'll match you dollar for dollar. Start saving now.
Sure.
And then when they were like 16, 17, whenever they wanted to buy a car, they had whatever money was in there because we had matched it. And then I gave them Ann and I gave them $1,000 each towards their car. And that better cover your taxes, tag. You got to get an inspection, and by the way, you're not getting this until you get a job because I'm not paying your insurance,
Yeah, which is, and gas is,
and they all bitch, but later on in life like that, I'm glad you did that. I understood why. I'm like, because you both totaled all your cars anyway. Like, I'm not participating in that. I want to teach you how to function.
I mean, I came from a long history of all my buddies. We got like a beater. Like the parents might be like, hey, the neighbor's selling the Plymouth Duster or the Pinto. And you're totally kind of humiliated because it's a super lame car, but it's also a car and you can drive to Hollywood. But I went to a school where it was very upper middle class and, there weren't a lot of BMWs, but there were kids with like, Mustangs and Volvos. Like kids had nicer cars. And me and my buddy, we were the band guys. I had the Vega, which a couple of the Hesher guys thought was cool because it had the V8 in it.
Yeah,
but he had
Vega's a cool car actually.
He had, really. But it was like brown. It was ugly. It was uglier than shit. And everyone thought it was a Pinto. So, and I rear-ended somebody on the freeway in bumper traffic and fucked up the car. And my mom was like, "Well, that was your car. You don't have a car now."
Yeah. She didn't go out and replace it. I mean,
No,
nobody ever heard of these things. That's insane, isn't it?
My dad still worked for General Foods, and he would get company cars. So, but for at least a semester or two, I took the bus down to Cal State Northridge, which is probably about 10 miles from me. I never got such good grades because I'm sitting on the bus reading everything because I don't want to make eye contact with anyone because everyone on the bus was insane. Like, it really, not to be unkind, but there were definitely, I can look back, there was definitely some severe OCD people on there. There were people who definitely needed to be medicated, and then no one was dangerous, but there were people you didn't want to have to like.
Yeah, it's like going on the subway in the 70s in Manhattan.
You just looked forward, and I'd be reading my history book, and I got straight A's. And then I think at some point, my dad had this Buick Century company car that he gave me, and this was when the Japanese were destroying America with cars. It was like 84, 85. This fucking thing was such a piece of shit. The only good thing is it looked like a cop car. So when we drove around with open containers doing stupid shit, as was our wont when we were 18, you never got pulled over because it was the total dad car. But at 70,000 miles, it went from running fine to you would pour transmission fluid in it and it just poured out onto the ground. So the transmission died overnight. It went through 2 head gaskets.
2?
I mean, 2. It was a fucking lemon. You want to talk lemons? It was a piece of shit Buick. And we still laugh about it in Bad Religion. It was called the Stealth because it was so, we would take it downtown and, it never got fucked with. And it was a piece of shit. It was horrible. So I was given one car, but I mean, I spent so much money fixing that fucking thing. I mean, 2 head gaskets of transmission is like $4,000.
That's the price of a used car back then. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a lot of money. $4,000, like $1,200 for that. Yeah, that was okay. So that was whatever my answer was there.
Yeah. It was the biggest change in personally. And last question, what's making you the happiest right now or giving you the most joy in your life?
I mean, obviously, one's child does. But I would say, but he's always, the kid is always cool. I've kind of found kind of fallen in love with playing again, with like doing it. I mean, I've never regretted joining Bad Religion for a nanosecond ever. And it's, when I left the cult, Billy was like, "Wow, you went from one big band to another big band. Like, that's pretty impressive." And I was like, "Wow, you're right."
Yeah.
So it's not like being a baseball player where you can kind of go from the Astros to the fucking Angels or whatever, and you do a whole. If you being in one band that you can make a career of is shocking. So I had this moment of, as dumb as it's, here we go with the gratitude. We were playing just this last tour in South America. We were playing, is it Nova Rock? I'm spacing now. It's not Nova Rock. Shit, I should remember. But it's a big, we did it's a big Spanish and Portuguese language festival. It's like their Coachella, basically.
Okay.
And we did one in Buenos Aires, and we didn't. We did one in I'm sorry, I'm spacing out. We did one. I'm confusing my countries now. We did the one in Barcelona, and they liked it so much. They're like, "Can you do our others in South America?" And they're super diverse. Like I think it's like 2 different stages, and we played, and then the closer of the night was The Cure. So it ranges that far from.
They're touring a lot. I noticed The Cure. They're everywhere now.
Yeah, the first night was The Killers, and somebody else like, I mean, it's very diverse. It's like you could have Madonna or somebody. It's not a rock festival. It's not kind of going to Germany and playing Rock 'em Ring. And we were doing this one in Sao Paulo, and the band was just on fire. Like, the band was just so good, if I could be immodest. And we're on this, huge stage at their, like, I think it's like an F1 track down there. It's just huge. And it had to be 75 or 80,000 people. And everyone stayed, came over for us after whoever else it was playing. So it wasn't one of those like captive audiences, because The Cure was going to play next, and everyone could have just split and gone to the Cure stage. And they didn't. And we're playing, and it's one of those crazy moments where I'm playing a solo, and you can hear it coming from the PA towers that are, 200 meters away metric. And you get this crazy echo that there's no better guitar sound in the world than playing in some monster place, and you hear it coming back through the PA at you, because it's like the ultimate echoplex. But it's not so weird that it fucks up your timing. It just sounds like you're fucking. I'll name him because he gets named on your show. You feel like you're fucking Leslie West. You're just playing, and you're just holding this note. And I was able to, while this was happening, go, holy shit, dude, you're 55. And if that 13-year-old kid would be able to see what you're doing now, and for a moment thought you were ever going to bitch about it or think it was a pain in the ass sometimes, he wouldn't believe it. He wouldn't believe that you have done this for your entire adult life. And even in that moment, I think I laughed to myself. I was like, I can't fucking believe this. Like, 8th grade me playing the talent show is now here. Like, how did that happen? And I was utterly like, this is too fucking ridiculous. This is crazy. Like, how am I here? I know why I'm here, but I was like, you're fucking here playing. You would have just been happy to go play in clubs and like, you're playing, it's not like I'm in U2. I mean, it was a festival, but
you're on the stage with 70,000 people, man. How many people are doing that in their lifetime?
No. And it was,
and you're happy.
Yeah. And it really was that moment of like, holy shit, the Cure's on next. And then the thing's over. Like, it's done. And I was like, how, I couldn't not be just giddy about it. Like, I really was. Like, I just was like, this was so amazing. Like, I never thought I would be there. And so your question was,
what's bringing you the most joy right now? And you said playing.
I mean yeah, I would say that, because then I get home and I'm not like being on tour is tiring, of course. I mean, we've all seen the Bon Jovi videos. It's hard being on the road, riding a steel horse and rocking a million faces. I think those are the lyrics. But you get home and you're like, I've just had, a fucking 20-hour flight going through Houston, which is the fucking worst airport in the world. I'm sorry. But you get home and you're like, I just had the greatest time playing music. So you get home and a day or two later, you're waking up driving your kid to school, and you're not like, oh man, I got put through the ringer. It was a 6-week difficult tour. You're like, I was fucking having a blast every night and playing music, and now I'm home, and all I have to do is drive my kid to school and go ride bikes in the sunshine. Like, that's what I'm doing today. And I'm just like, so it makes all aspects of your life better. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you're like, dude, I just got back from a tour and I'm doing what I dreamt of doing when I was 13, and you're just driving like an asshole because you hate your fucking life. And that's not my problem. And I'm just going to let you cut me off. That's okay. And you realize that these people driving around like lunatics with their kids in the car, they can't be happy. If they're that angry at fucking 8:05 a.m.,
it's a
I
problem.
don't want to see how the rest of their day goes. So I really take that. And I pointed out to the kid too. I'm like, did you see that douchey maneuver there? Don't drive that way. That's not cool. Like, I'm trying to train him how to not be a bad driver and crash whatever shitty car he gets from us. But yeah, I'm enjoying getting to do what it was I dreamt of. And you forget, you do it for so many years that you're just used to it. You're like, oh, I'm playing guitar. Like, and you get people, wow, that must be really neat. And you kind of can become a bit complacent and like, yeah, well, it's what I do. I'm not, and then you realize like, you don't need to feel like, oh, I just got so lucky, like you made the luck. You didn't have a bunch of, I was a fucking geek in high school, other than that we kind of looked cool because we dressed like Johnny Thunder's Heartbreakers, but I was such a nerd. I didn't have time for girls and scared of them because I wanted to play music. So it's like I did, you make sacrifices, obviously. I think anyone on your show probably spent a lot of time in their bedroom not going out with their buddies.
Oh, every one of them. Not every one of them, literally.
And your parents even are sort of like, don't you think you should go out? That girl sounds like she wanted you to come hang out. And you're like, no can do, Mom. Like I gotta figure out. Yeah, and that. So it makes you get up there and you're just like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm fucking doing this. Like it really is. That it's not just a job. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it for free at this age. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think I'd want to be
sure.
Because
but you don't have to. It's a gig.
Yeah, I think I would have become jaded. Like I was very close to being jaded. If the Cult hadn't gotten back together again, and Bad Religion had come calling, I think I might have gotten into a feeling undervalued or underappreciated. Because I know guys in my position who can really get resentful. Like, this is fucked. I'm not paid enough, or I'm not shown, I'm not enough. I'm more than a hired guy or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that can really be a dangerous road. You know what I mean? Like, being happy where you are is hugely important, I would say, and if you're happy where you are, you seem to end up in better places. Do you know what I mean? Like you do. Yeah. I wouldn't have 12 years ago, I wouldn't have thought I'd be in Bad Religion plying my trade and playing guitar better than I've played in my entire life. Like I wouldn't have ever, as I said, I thought I was like, okay, I've reached the level of my incompetence or competence, and that's cool. I'll do that. And then all of a sudden to have a whole new, whole new responsibility heaped on you, where it's like, no, these guys are like counting on you to fucking do your job the best you can. Because if you don't, they're going to notice. And, and it was like, wow, like I actually like the responsibility. It's sort of, it's not just sort of like you're just kind of like filling in the sonic whatever. This is like, no, if your guitar goes off, all of a sudden that's a problem. It's like, all of a sudden I kind of got to go be Mick Taylor in the Stones. It was just like, holy shit. Like this is, I mean, I'm not trying to compare myself to Mick Taylor, so I don't want anyone.
No, I totally get it, man. No, man, I'm happy. Listen, man, this is like a really nice way to sort of end this, because it's a great answer that you have. And, I'm so happy that you are feeling so good about your life right now and what you're doing, because that is like everything. When you wake up every day and you're happy about it, I think life's a lot better than when you wake up every day and you're fucking miserable, It
is. And you don't, and it is easy for me to forget, because we'll have these long kind of, we haven't played since December, and that's a couple months off, and I'm doing the dad thing and driving around and riding bikes and going on hikes, but I'm playing guitar, but I'm not, it's like, I can forget what the fuck it is I do. Like I know what I'm doing. There's, there's guitars there, and my Johnny Thunders poster, and original God Save the Queen. That's worth a fortune.
Very
I'm sure
cool.
now.
Yeah.
It was £3 at the fucking Camden swap meet in like 1980.
That's so funny.
82.
Camden swap meet. I went there. That was so funny.
Dude, I got a Holidays in the Sun one too. I think they were £5 for the pair. And they're real. But I kind of forget what I do, and then I'm driving to rehearsal when I'm at this, and fucking traffic in LA, dude. It takes me an hour to go 8 miles. I've ridden my bike, and
pretty nuts.
I mean, I've commuted on my bicycle to rehearsals before, because I know it'll take an hour, barring a disaster. But then once I get to rehearsals and we're playing for 4 nights in a row, I got home and I was like, oh, I remember that feeling of accomplishment, of like, it was rusty at first, you're good again, the band sounds tight, you're learning songs and preparing for the new tour. This is what you do, because playing around learning songs in your house is part of what you do, and playing guitar, and I play along to commercials and do whatever, but it's it really is that playing loud with other musicians and being like, oh my God, everyone's doing their thing and it's great. That makes me, then I would wake up taking Luca to school and I'm like, this is great. I'm going to do this and go on a jog and then go play music on my guitars that I think are really pretty. And it snaps me out of that. And I do have to kind of not get into the doldrums in between stuff, where I'm, you haven't played in a while, and you don't forget, but you just kind of get back into the, like, going to the Trader Joe's, sitting in traffic, doing I do miss that there's a focus for the evening. Like, okay, at 9:00, you've got to have all your shit together and go play songs, for a bunch of people who paid good money, to come see you, and you have them leave happy that they got to hear a nice selection of songs and you acquitted yourselves well. And yeah, I do need that like sense of self. Obviously you're a father and you do all that, but there is that other thing where it's like,
yeah, you got to be you. Yeah. Your identity is not in someone else. It's in you for sure.
No, you can't you can't throw everything on your child, because then that's you don't want to be like the crazy parent who's like, don't you have something else to do? Leave your kid alone.
Totally. Well, Mike, thank you very much for everything. I really appreciate it. Let me tell people where to find you. So Bad Religion and Social Distortion are touring, co-headline tour this coming over the next few months. Check the bands out. You can follow Mike on Instagram at Mike the Serb, Serb as in Serbian, which his last name is Dimkic. Anything else that I should tell people about that you got going on?
Not, I really don't. I'll make a shameless thing. Like,
yeah,
when I have time, when I'm home off the road, I'm always happy to play guitar. So if there's anyone, I don't know,
if someone's looking for a session, if you're looking to hire Mike for sessions, DM him on his Instagram, tell him what you're looking for, send him some of your music so he could at least make some sort of a cognizant awareness of, this is a fit for me, or no, it's not, or, what you're specifically looking for him to bring to the table so he could respond back to you intelligently. But is that the best way to get you on DM you on Instagram? Yeah,
totally. I mean, I always laugh because whenever I'd be touring with a band like the Culture Bad Religion, I mean, I'd always in time off, I always thought like, it'd be fun to go play bass in that band or something. Like, just go get in a van and go tour. Just don't make me drive. But I think I've talked to people over the years where I was like, oh, dude, I would have done that tour with you. Like, we couldn't have afforded you, or what? You're like, believe me, I have a sliding scale, whatever.
Reach out to
playing music. Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
reach out to him if it's a good vibe. Let me tell you, how many people I've had on the show that have come back to me and said, "Oh man, I got hired for some gigs." Some people
how neat
sessions. Yeah, so it happens. It happens. Hopefully a lot more than I'm aware of. But yeah, reach out to Mike on Instagram. Again, it's Mike the Serb, and you can find him there. Dude, I really appreciate your time and your conversation, man. It was really nice talking to you, and I hope we'll wrap up in a minute afterwards. But I hope to get to see you when you come down here. That'd be nice. Grab a cup of coffee or a drink or whatever you want to do. It'd be cool.
I forget where you are in Florida.
Tampa. So I think you guys are playing either Ruth Eckerd or Clearwater. I think it's Ruth Eckerd you're playing, Ruth Eckerd Hall, which is a great theater to play in. It's sonically, it's good. It's aesthetically, it's beautiful. So
nice, because it's always Janice Landing. We're always St. Pete, Janice Landing. So now,
oh my God, Janice! I stopped going there. It's they oversell, and you're there, and all these
looks pretty
guys drinking and spilling beer all over here, and I'm like, no, I'm too old for that shit, man. But it's a great venue, but.
Is the place we're playing? Is it a little bit out of town, or?
No, it's a theater. It's in St. Pete. It's right over it's actually in Clearwater. It's just right over where Clearwater starts. Yeah, it's great. It's a amazing theater. I mean, it's probably, I don't know, maybe a little over 2,000 seats, and
fun.
Yeah, acoustically, it's a great. I would imagine it's a great place to play. It's a great place to see shows.
I've never been. Clearwater's nice, I'm told.
I like St. Pete better, but Clearwater, and listen, man, you're down here in the Gulf. It's not like you're going to go any place that's like, oh, this is miserable. I mean, of course, it's good and bad areas, but I mean, overall, it's the west coast of Florida is pretty nice.
I thought coast. I like the vibe in St. Pete. I always thought was pretty fun. Like they had good places to kind of hang out, and it's kind of got like, it seems pretty. It seems pretty like, I don't know. It's not. I don't know. Is it a university town? It seems kind of progressive and sort of like.
It's just a cool place. I think they have like USF, University of South Florida has a campus there, but it's just, it's a fun place. We go there for like we're kidless here, so we don't need to go, but once in a blue moon, we'll go over there for once or twice a year, we'll go over there to St. Pete for the Saturday night, just to hang out and relax.
Yeah.
We'll stay overnight there. It's fun. It's a cool vibe. In fact, if we didn't have our 3 kids are here, if we didn't have our kids, we'd probably live over in St. Pete because it's a lot of fun. It's a beautiful place, man. So
no, I do like it.
All right, Mike, hang on one second. I'm going to wrap this up, and then we'll get to wrap this up. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. Best of luck with everything you got going on, and thanks so much for being yourself, man. I really appreciate your conversation.
Thanks for having me. I feel like I'm in illustrious company with all the guests you've had.
I'm an illustrious company, man, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, you flatter me.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it on your social media platforms with your friends. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Mike Dimkic for his time, and please support the band and come check out Social Distortion and Bad Religion on their co-headlining tour. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Mike, thank you so much, brother.
Of course.